The film opens with a scene where Guan Jiji and his lover, Zhou Shiwei, go to register their marriage. Colleagues and close friends are waiting at the civil affairs office to celebrate with them. Guan Jiji happily fills out the registration form, completely immersed in her happiness. She fails to notice that her lover, sitting next to her, is not feeling happy. He suddenly stops the official from stamping their marriage certificate after verifying their submitted documents. Huang Zhenhua, Zhou Shiwei's colleague, has been waiting outside for a long time and starts to sense that something is wrong since neither Guan Jiji nor Zhou Shiwei has come out yet. Recalling Zhou Shiwei's unusual behavior that morning, Huang Zhenhua, filled with fear about married life, tries to persuade him with kind words. As expected, he has changed his mind about getting married at the last minute. Guan Jiji becomes furious. She has been in a relationship with Zhou Shiwei for 7 years and never expected him to back out at the last moment. Guan Jiji refuses to let him go. She has spent 7 years of her youth with Zhou Shiwei and is furious, requiring dragging Zhou Shiwei to get the certificate, even if it means divorcing tomorrow. Zhou Shiwei remains adamant. Her friends rush in to beat him. Seeing this, Huang Zhenhua drives Zhou Shiwei away. Huang Zhenhua advises him to go back and apologize to Guan Jiji, but he admits that he has fallen in love with Huang Zhenhua's sister, Huang Yaimei. He, upon hearing this, is enraged and beats Shiwei, but he insists that his love for Yaimei is true. 22-year-old Huang Yaimei is a top Central Academy of Fine Arts student. She is naturally beautiful and cheerful, has a wide range of interests, and exudes an irresistible charm. Many boys admire her and often fight over her. 3 months ago, Huang Zhenhua brought Yaimei to the Architecture Institute for an internship, where Shiwei fell in love with her at first sight. Zhenhua even asked Huang Yaimei to learn from Zhou Shiwei. From that day on, Zhou Shiwei's heart was filled with thoughts of Yaimei, leaving no room for anyone else. His admiration for her grew uncontrollably. Huang sternly lectures Zhou Shiwei, reminding him not to be infatuated with his younger sister. He believes that Yaimei has feelings for him. They have had meals and watched movies together, and he even gave her a necklace, which she did not refuse. Shiwei is determined to break up with Jiji, but he can only bring himself to do it when they are at the civil affairs office. Returning home from work, she receives flowers and gifts from admirers, much to her parents' annoyance. Her father is Huang Jianru, and her mother is Wu Yuzhong. They are professors at Tsinghua University. They hope their daughter will pursue further studies after graduation, but she is not interested in taking the entrance exams for graduate school. Her father receives numerous calls daily from people wanting to meet her, which he declines with various excuses. Yaimei is accustomed to this routine. Jiji goes to a bar to drink away her sorrows, with her friends to comfort her. She calls her family to cancel the wedding banquet, claiming that Zhou Shiwei was hit by a car and died. Zhenhua drives home and calls Huang Yaimei down, revealing that Zhou Shiwei backed out of the marriage because of her. Yaimei remains indifferent, stating that the matter has nothing to do with her. Suddenly, the neighborhood erupts in celebration as households rejoice over Beijing's successful Olympic bid. The two rushed home to watch live television. Guan Jiji comes to Zhenhua to complain, suspecting that Zhou Shiwei has another woman in his heart. He tries to cover it up, but when Jiji learns that this girl's name is Rose, she recalls that Zhou Shiwei called out the name Rose in his dreams and believes that the woman is Yaimei. Yaimei clarifies that she and Zhou Shiwei are just a teacher-student pair, having only had tea and watched movies together. Guan Jiji refuses to believe it and accuses her of seducing Shiwei. Zhenhua manages to persuade Jiji to leave. Her parents are furious that she has now entangled herself with an engaged man. Despite Yaimei's numerous defenses, they believe she is at fault and lock her in her room. Early in the morning, an enraged Guan Jiji arrives to confront Zhenhua. She threatens to report Huang Yaimei to the school. Frightened, Huang Zhenhua continues to apologize. When Wu Yuzhong prepares a meal and sends Huang Jianru to call Huang Yaimei, they find she has already escaped through the window. At work, Huang Yaimei's colleague, Yuan Zhang, tries hard to get close to her, but she remains aloof. Seeing Huang Yaimei through the window, Jiji attempts to confront her, but Zhenhua stops her with all his might. In Huang Zhenhua's office, Guan Jiji is shouting, causing colleagues to gossip. Ignoring Yuan Zhang's attempts to stop her, Yaimei confronts Jiji. Enraged, Guan Jiji tries to hit Huang Yaimei, who suggests they talk privately in the downstairs cafe and drags her along. Yaimei clarifies that she has no interest in Zhou Shihui and advises Guan Jiji to leave him. Guan Jiji is unwilling to let go, as Zhou Shihui is her first love, and she has spent 7 years with him. Yaimei patiently persuades her, using facts and reasoning, and even orders dessert to soothe her emotions. Guan Jiji finally starts to calm down. Huang Zhenhua rushes in and sees Guan Jiji and Huang Yaimei enjoying desserts together through the window, sighing in relief. Zhou Shihui, having dressed up meticulously, brings a large bouquet of yellow roses to the Architecture Institute to find Huang Yaimei. Seeing that she is not there, Huang Zhenhua pulls him aside. Despite being severely scolded, Zhou Shihui remains determined to attend school to see Yaimei. At the school, Zhou Shihui presents Huang Yaimei with flowers and confesses his love, but she rejects him outright and advises him to cherish Guan Jiji. He disagrees. And upon learning that Guan Jiji caused a scene at the Architecture Institute, he promises to end things ultimately with her and prevent further disturbances. Huang Yaimei, not wanting to hear more, walks away in frustration. He goes to see Guan Jiji, who is packing up their new home where they had planned to live after getting married. Feeling guilty, he wants to part amicably. But Guan Jiji mocks him and leaves without looking back. Huang Zhenhua calls Huang Yaimei, urging her to reconcile with their parents and even tries to lure her with food, but Yaimei refuses to yield. Her father secretly brings food to her, who enjoys it heartily. He seizes the opportunity to persuade her to make peace with her mother, but Yaimei evades the topic and asks for his opinion on her artwork. Yaimei noticed a job opening at Cran Company and applied for the assistant to the general manager position. While filling out the application form, she accidentally spills ink on her shirt and borrows a scarf from Su Zhengsheng to cover the stain. Su Zhengsheng, unable to refuse, gives her the scarf. During the interview, Huang Yaimei recognizes Su Zhengsheng as one of the interviewers. She confidently and gracefully answers questions, impressing the interview panel. Su Zhengsheng then poses a sharp question, asking her to explain her choice of scarf. Huang Yaimei accurately describes the designer's background and style, satisfying Su Zhengsheng, who tells her to await further notice. Having heard that she abandoned her plans for graduate school to attend a job interview, her brother preemptively warns her to prepare for their parents' reaction. Huang Yaimei happily returns home for dinner. Her mother has prepared a lavish meal, and during dinner, Su Zhengsheng calls to invite Huang Yaimei for a second interview. Her mother is furious upon hearing this. Yaimei is enthusiastic about the company, which deals mainly in art sales and exhibitions, believing it offers excellent prospects. Her brother supports her, and her mother reluctantly agrees to let her daughter try. The next day, Huang Yaimei arrives punctually for her second interview. Su Zhengsheng introduces her to General Manager Zhang Xuechong, briefly explaining the company's operations. Zhang Xuechong rushes into the office and touches up her makeup in front of Huang Yaimei, who offers some constructive advice, pleasing Zhang Xuechong. Huang Yaimei persuades her father to buy her a mobile phone. Unable to resist her pleas, he uses his private savings to get her one. Zhou Shihui is heartbroken, decides to sell their house, resigns from his job, and plans to return to his hometown. Before leaving, he meets with Huang Zhenhua and asks him to convey a message to Huang Yaimei, that he will never forget her. Huang Zhenhua, worried and frustrated, finds himself helpless as Zhou Shihui remains obstinate. Not long after buying her mobile phone, Huang Yaimei receives a notification from IMI of Qingqing Company's HR department. She has passed the 2 rounds of interviews. She can officially start work the next day. She had a bet with her mother that if she passed the interview, she wouldn't have to pursue graduate studies. The following day, Huang Yaimei dresses up beautifully and heads to work, imagining male colleagues greeting her warmly at the door. In reality, only Su Zhengsheng is there to meet her. She introduced her to the responsibilities of a general manager's assistant and described General Manager Zhang Xuechong's preferences. She also warns her that her attractiveness, though advantageous, might bring unnecessary trouble. Huang Yaimei takes all this to heart. The mother arranges a meeting for Huang Zhenhua with Bai Xiaohe, a PhD candidate, through Professor Liang, a colleague. Pleased with her photo, Huang Zhenhua eagerly sends sweet messages to Bai Xiaohe, who remains indifferent. Meanwhile, Zhang Xuechong is organizing a Sino-French exchange exhibition but struggles to secure the participation of collector Mr. Teng. Frustrated, she harshly scolds her secretary. Huang Yaimei does her best to soothe Zhang Xuechang, eventually calming her down. When Huang Yaimei asks Su Zhengsheng about Zhang Xuechang's challenges, she advises her not to get involved and focus on her tasks. As a token of gratitude for the scarf lent during the interview, Huang Yaimei gives Su Zhengsheng a new one, which she reluctantly accepts. Huang Yaimei researches Mr. Tang online and learns he will attend a banquet at the China Hotel. Lacking an invitation, she devises a clever plan. As someone organizing an event at the hotel, she convinces sales manager Zhao to show her around. Once inside, she sneaks away, freshens up in the restroom, and enters the exhibition. Her stunning appearance attracts many admirers, whom she politely handles. Mistaking assistant Zhuang Guodong for Mr. Tang, she introduces herself and discusses the Sino-French exchange exhibition. Zhuang Guodong then introduces her to Mr. Tang and persuades him to participate in the exhibition. Despite being scheduled to leave for Hong Kong that night, Mr. Tang agrees to give her 30 minutes. Huang Yaimei quickly calls Zhang Xuechang, who rushes over. Their conversation goes well, and Mr. Tang agrees to exhibit his collection. Grateful for Zhuang Guodong's help, Huang Yaimei is charmed by him. Just as they start conversing further, Zhang Xuechang, clutching her stomach in pain, insists Huang Yaimei drive her home. Forced to leave abruptly, Huang Yaimei did not forget to thank Zhuang Guodong and left. Despite Zhang Xuechang's protests, Huang Yaimei drives her to the hospital, where it's revealed that Zhang Xuechang's stomach ulcer has flared up due to eating cold food with alcohol. Meanwhile, Su Zhengsheng, startled awake by a nightmare, goes for a run to ease her anxiety. Upon receiving Huang Yaimei's call, she rushes to the hospital. Huang Yaimei suggests Su Zhengsheng stay with Zhang Xuechang and calls Huang Zhenhua to pick her up, regretting her hurried departure from Zhuang Guodong. Huang Yaimei frets over not exchanging contact details. On the way home, he expressed dissatisfaction when his mother kept forcing him to get acquainted with a highly educated girl. He doesn't know what to do because he texted her for a few days and got no response. Yaimei understands this feeling of his brother. She suggested he meet in person outside instead of texting over the phone. The next day morning, Huang Zhenhua visits Bai Xiaohe at her school and waits for her after she finishes her experiment. They head to the cafeteria for a meal together. Bai Xiaohe is introverted and prefers to stay in the lab daily rather than actively interact with people. Huang Zhenhua tries hard to find topics to get Bai Xiaohe to talk about, and she responds with rational analyses, speaking eloquently. Huang Zhenhua develops a liking for her and asks to meet her again. Yaimei stayed up all night working on the proposal for the China-France exchange exhibition, eager to continue handling the project. Zhang Xuechang realizes that Huang Yaimei wants to use this opportunity to get closer to Zhuang Guodong. Yaimei admits this is true. This is her first time planning such a significant event. And although her ideas are immature, Zhang Xuechang reluctantly agrees to give her a chance. Su Zhengsheng doesn't understand Zhang Xuechang's decision. But Zhang Xuechang doesn't want to stifle Huang Yaimei's enthusiasm and wants to give her a chance to prove herself. Huang Zhenhua wants to continue seeing Bai Xiaohe and adds her to the QQ app. Huang Yaimei officially takes over the China-France exchange exhibition project. Zhuang Guodong gathers the relevant personnel for a meeting. He is efficient and orderly in his work. Huang Yaimei develops feelings for him, but he maintains a business-like attitude. Huang Yaimei, used to being admired by men, feels disappointed for the first time. She vents to Huang Zhenhua, who offers her advice. Huang Yaimei attends a discussion meeting dressed in eye-catching clothes. Zhuang Guodong and the participants are impressed by her appearance. Following Huang Zhenhua's advice, she should frequently challenge him to get his attention. After the meeting, Zhuang Guodong asks for her contact information, making Huang Yaimei think she has succeeded, but he remains indifferent. Female colleague Han Ying brings macarons to share and brags about having dinner with Zhuang Guodong. She reveals that he invited her to the next Venice Biennale, disappointing Huang Yaimei. Huang Zhenhua, knowing Huang Yaimei's initial attempt failed, encourages her to take the initiative. Zhuang Guodong can't stop thinking about Huang Yaimei but lacks the courage to contact her directly. He falls for her at first sight during the banquet but can't decipher her intentions, so he pretends to be aloof around her. Han Ying invites Zhuang Guodong to dinner, and he constantly checks his phone, hoping to hear from Huang Yaimei, but she doesn't contact him. He asks Han Ying about Huang Yaimei and buys macarons for her to share with colleagues. The mother didn't cook, so Huang Zhenhua accompanied his father to the Tsinghua University canteen to buy food, where they ran into Bai Xiaohe. Zhenhua quickly goes over to greet her. Since their last meeting, Bai Xiaohe hasn't contacted him, making him think she lost interest. However, Bai Xiaohe also has feelings for him but doesn't know how to express them. Huang Zhenhua is overjoyed. Zhuang Guodong visits Qingting Company for a collaboration and invites everyone to dinner. Male colleagues beside him keep flattering Huang Yaimei, making Zhuang Guodong uneasy. When he learns that Huang Yaimei can't drink, he orders a drink for her. Han Ying invited Zhuang Guodong to a French restaurant next time, which Huang Yaimei heard, but she pretended to be indifferent. Da Lu tries hard to please Huang Yaimei. Zhuang Guodong, suppressing his anger, approaches Da Lu and asks him to toast with the others from Qingting Company. Seizing the opportunity to sit beside Huang Yaimei and show goodwill towards her. Suddenly, Huang Zhenhua calls Huang Yaimei, saying he will pick her up. While she steps out to take the call, Han Ying seizes the moment to get close to Zhuang Guodong. Seeing this, Zhuang Guodong dismisses everyone. Han Ying pretends to be drunk and leans on Zhuang Guodong, acting coy and asking him to take her home. Huang Yaimei, although furious, pretends to be indifferent. Huang Zhenhua arrives to pick up Yaimei. Their colleagues mistake him for her boyfriend, which makes Zhuang Guodong uneasy. He wants to send a message to clarify but holds back, merely sending a greeting instead. Zhenhua suggests pretending to be Yaimei's boyfriend to make Zhuang Guodong pursue her actively. In return, Yaimei agrees to help him court Xiaohe. On the weekend, Zhenhua takes Yaimei and Xiaohe fishing in the countryside. Xiaohe, uninterested, sits under a tree reading a book. Zhenhua tries to engage her in conversation, and she praises him as an ideal marriage partner. Huang Yaimei speaks highly of Zhenhua in front of Bai Xiaohe. When Xiaohe accidentally fell, Yaimei urged Zhenhua to run out to help her up. But instead, he tripped over a rock and injured his leg. Xiaohe is unhurt, but Zhenhua twists his ankle, and the two women accompany him to the hospital. The next morning, Xiaohe visits Zhenhua at home. Overwhelmed by her attention, he struggles to tidy his messy room and accidentally falls. She helps him clean up and acts like his girlfriend, moving Huang Zhenhua to tears. He holds her hand tightly. She buys a lot of fruit and even cooks for him. Zhuang Guodong convenes a project team meeting, only to learn that Huang Yaimei has gone on a business trip to Shanghai with Su Zhengsheng, leaving him feeling quite disappointed. Xiaohe takes meticulous care of Zhenhua while also managing to work on her thesis. Su Zhengsheng takes Huang Yaimei to an art exhibition, which opens her eyes to new experiences. When Huang Yaimei casually turns on a jukebox, the organizer, delighted because it's his favorite song, rushes over. He takes photos of Huang Yaimei, the first to use the jukebox, and shares the news with his foreign friends. The mother calls Huang Zhenhua, urging him to move back home, but he politely declines. He invites Xiaohe to dinner at home, but she feels awkward, and he doesn't insist. Before leaving, Xiaohe gives Zhenhua a light hug, surprising him with her initiative. Zhang Xuechong wants to groom Huang Yaimei to be a curator, though Su Zhengsheng feels it's premature. Zhang Xuechong believes in Yaimei's potential. Su Zhengsheng takes Huang Yaimei to various art exhibitions in Shanghai, promoting her to the organizers. And Huang Yaimei learns a lot and feels grateful. As Zhenhua's injury improves, he visits Xiaohe in the lab, dressed smartly in a suit, and formally invites her to meet his parents. She is incidentally by the sudden invitation and doesn't know how to respond. Misunderstanding her hesitation as a refusal, Zhenhua leaves disappointed. Feeling sorry for him, Xiaohe rushes out to explain. She reveals she had a boyfriend for 5 years who moved back to Anhui after graduating to care for his parents. Not wanting to be far from her own parents, she continued her PhD. 3 months later, her boyfriend went on a blind date. Still recovering from this breakup, Bai Xiaohe explains her situation to Huang Zhenhua, who understands her reasons. Zhuang Guodong's family was not happy. His parents often argued. His mother followed him to study in France, leaving his father, Zhuang Taiwan, alone in Beijing. His mother returned from France to finalize their divorce, and they ate dinner. His mother urged him to return to France quickly, angering Zhuang Taiwan and leading to another fierce argument between his parents. As their voices escalate, he gets increasingly annoyed and leaves the room to get some peace. Trying to calm himself down, Zhuang Guodong sees two waitresses eavesdropping and gossiping at the door. Angrily, he scolds them before grabbing his bag and leaving. Stepping outside, he notices the rain has stopped but feels gloomy inside. He thinks of Huang Yaimei in Shanghai, contemplating whether to ask if the man who picked her up is her boyfriend. Instead, he sends a simple greeting message. Upon receiving his message, she feels delighted. She calls Zhuang Guodong and admits that Huang Zhenhua is her brother. Relieved, Zhuang Guodong shares his longing for her, and they express their feelings over the phone, wishing they could see each other immediately. When Huang Yaimei returns to the hotel, she sees Su Zhengsheng loudly talking on the phone. She stays by Su Zhengsheng's side, who fully entrusts the Shanghai exhibition to her, advising her to hand over her current tasks when she returns to Beijing. Upon returning to Beijing, Zhuang Guodong is already at the airport waiting for Huang Yaimei. She hastily says goodbye to Su Zhengsheng. Reuniting with Zhuang Guodong, they can't contain their excitement. Zhuang Guodong takes Huang Yaimei home, where they share an intimate moment. Huang Yaimei sneaks home at 2 a.m., only to find Huang Zhenhua waiting for her. He interrogates her about her whereabouts, and she lies about having dinner with her boss. Unconvinced, Huang Zhenhua presses her until she retreats to her room. The next morning, Zhenhua drives Yaimei to work, intending to confront her boss. They encounter Su Zhengsheng and Huang Zhenhua, who misunderstand the situation and scold her. Su Zhengsheng, understanding the real situation, covers Huang Yaimei despite being berated by Huang Zhenhua. Huang Yaimei apologizes to Su Zhengsheng, who advises her to keep personal feelings separate from work. From that day, Huang Yaimei and Zhuang Guodong start a passionate romance, wanting to be together constantly. While dining at a restaurant, they run into Zhuang Guodong's mother, who questions him about Huang Yaimei. He lies, saying she's a colleague, upsetting Huang Yaimei, who leaves in a huff. Returning home dejectedly, Huang Yaimei sees Huang Zhenhua sitting outside, lost in thought, and learns about his breakup. Having just argued with Zhuang Guodong, the siblings commiserate and comfort each other. Zhuang Guodong calls Huang Yaimei, but she doesn't answer. When Huang Zhenhua offers to take the call, Huang Yaimei angrily throws her phone and walks away. Unable to reach her, Zhuang Guodong becomes despondent. Preparing to return to Paris, his mother notices his distraction and guesses it's due to the girl they met at the restaurant. She advises him not to let emotions cloud his judgment, warning him not to repeat his father's mistakes. The next morning, Zhuang Guodong sends flowers to Huang Yaimei, who gives them to a colleague. He attempts to reconcile, but Huang Yaimei ignores him. The mother pressures her son to deliver mangoes to Bai Xiaohe. She is happy to see him and agrees to keep their breakup a secret to avoid upsetting their parents. Su Zhengsheng buys breakfast for Huang Yaimei, who shares some stolen wine from Zhang Xuechong with her, bonding over their experiences. Working late, Huang Yaimei finishes her tasks, only to find Zhuang Guodong waiting outside. Without a word, he embraces her tightly, and she doesn't resist. They reconcile and return to their previous close relationship. With Zhuang's mother back in France, he wishes to introduce Huang Yaimei to his father, Zhuang Taiwan. However, Yaimei is reluctant, feeling that as long as they love each other, that's enough. Zhenhua and Xiaohe agree to keep their breakup a secret from their parents. Her parents wish to meet Huang Zhenhua, who arrives in a sharp suit with generous gifts at their luxurious villa. Xiaohe's father, Bai Erju, a well-known entrepreneur, is impressed by Huang Zhenhua's politeness and shows him his art collection, including Xiaohe's childhood drawings. Huang Zhenhua is fascinated. Guodong and Huang Yaimei spend as much time together as possible. When he brings Yaimei home, they share a passionate kiss in the hallway, only to be caught by Zhenhua. Remembering the incident where Huang Yaimei angrily broke her phone, Huang Zhenhua offered to drive Guodong home. Yaimei, worried, joins them. During the ride, her brother confronts Guodong harshly, but Guodong responds with humor. When Huang Yaimei steps out for a bathroom break, Guodong buys drinks for Huang Zhenhua, and they subtly compete by throwing the empty cans into a trash bin. Learning they love basketball, they agree to play together, forgetting about Huang Yaimei. Zhenhua and Guodong bond over their conversation, exchanging phone numbers. Although Yaimei feels left out, she's pleased. Bai Erju visits Zhenhua at his workplace, and despite his busy schedule, he agrees to have a quick meal with Xiaohe's father. Bai Erju discusses Shenhua's work and invites him to join their family vacation in Guangxi, which Shenhua readily accepts. When Guodong picks Yaimei up from work, Han Ying realizes they are dating and feels jealous. He takes Yaimei home and gives her a key to his place. Meanwhile, Shenhua prepares to travel, and his mother is surprised to learn about Xiaohei's wealthy family, expressing a desire to meet her. Shenhua reassures his mother that he will marry Xiaohei soon. Xiaohei, informed by her father about his meeting with Shenhua, calls him to cancel the trip. He avoids the topic, but she confronts him, clarifying that they are not suited for each other. He feels deeply disappointed. Zhang Xuechong, upon hearing that Mr. Tang will visit Beijing next month, asks Yaimei to ask Guodong for help connecting with him. Yaimei declines, not wanting to mix her personal life with work. Zhang Xuechong advises her to use the relationship strategically, but Yaimei firmly refuses, preferring to separate her professional and personal lives. Feeling dejected, Shenhua picks up Yaimei, complaining about his recent heartbreak and expressing frustration at being dumped for the first time. Yaimei comforts him with kind words. Then, she announces her relationship with Zhuang Guodong to her parents, who are both shocked. Given Yaimei's beauty and lively personality, she has always been pursued by many suitors, all of whom she ignored. Curious about the man who won her heart, she briefly introduces Zhuang Guodong and shows them his photo. While her father is critical of Zhuang Guodong, her mother is pleased and eager to meet him. Zhuang Guodong had previously applied for the position of marketing director at the company's headquarters in France. He has just received the job offer and is overjoyed, immediately sharing the news with his mother in Paris, who is also delighted. However, the thought of being separated from Yaimei dampens his spirits. After work, Yaimei visits Guodong, who has been waiting for her. They haven't seen each other for 2 days and have much to discuss. He does not want to spoil the moment and refrains from telling her about his job transfer to Paris, merely mentioning a trip to Paris. Huang Yaimei, thinking it's a vacation, is excited to visit the place where Guodong studied. She wants to introduce him to her parents, but he keeps finding excuses to avoid it, which angers her. He eventually promises to meet her parents after his business trip to Guangzhou, which slightly appeases her. While Guodong is in Guangzhou, Yaimei cleans his apartment and accidentally finds an application for a French visa on his computer. She is thrilled, assuming he is planning their trip. During a video call, she mentions this, and Guodong reluctantly admits he is being transferred to Paris. Feeling betrayed for being kept in the dark, Yaimei argues that he doesn't care about their relationship. Guodong, irritated, ends the call under the pretext of being busy. Fuming, she repeatedly tried to call Guodong, but he had left his phone in his room. Unused to such neglect, she desperately searches hotels for him but in vain. Eventually, his phone goes off, adding to her frustration. Yaimei, drunk and angry, trashes his apartment. The neighbors felt noisy and annoyed, so they called the police, and Zhuang Taiwan was summoned. Recognizing Yaimei, he explained the situation to the police and apologized to the neighbors. Su Zhengsheng arrives and tries to comfort Yaimei, while Zhuang Taiwan, unable to reach his son, sympathizes with her. Yaimei confides in Su Zhengsheng about her heartbreak and asks her to lie to her parents to avoid worrying them. The next morning, Zhuang Guodong discovers his phone is out of battery. After charging it, he gets a call from his father and learns about Yaimei's outburst. Returning from Guangzhou, he finds his apartment in ruins. When he tries to talk to Huang Yaimei, she ignores him and threatens to break up. Frustrated, he leaves without offering any explanation. Yaimei, blessed with intelligence and beauty, has always been cherished by her parents and brother. Growing up in luxury and constantly admired by suitors, she has never faced any hardships. Although she impulsively breaks up with him, she remains deeply troubled, unable to eat or sleep, and often crying in secret. Zhuang Guodong, torn between his career and his love for Huang Yaimei, does not want to lose the opportunity to advance his career. Proud and stubborn, he refuses to initiate a reconciliation but misses her terribly, channeling his emotions into intense workouts at the gym. His father cannot contact him, so he invites Yaimei to dinner to apologize on his behalf. Despite his efforts and references to literature, Yaimei remains unmoved. Shenhua, while playing basketball with Guodong, learns about the destruction of Guodong's apartment and the breakup. He urges Guodong to reconcile with Yaimei, but Guodong, prioritizing his career, also mocks Huang Zhenhua's failed relationship, leaving Zhenhua speechless. Exhausted from the game, Zhenhua realizes he needs more exercise. He arranges to buy second-hand dumbbells from a forum user, who turns out to be Su Zhengsheng. After their transaction, the box carrying the dumbbells breaks, injuring Zhenhua's foot. Su Zhengsheng takes him to the hospital, where, fortunately, he doesn't have a serious injury. Despite Zhenhua's insistence, the doctor advises resting without a cast. Su Zhengsheng borrows a wheelchair for Huang Zhenhua, who blames her for the accident and demands an apology. She refuses and records his accusations before leaving, infuriating Huang Zhenhua. Yaimei brings him home, and he tries to convince her to reconcile with Guodong. When she refuses, he threatens to introduce new research students to Guodong, which she vehemently opposes. Her brother encourages her to be confident and suggests she can keep Guodong even if he moves to Paris. Guodong eventually seeks out Yaimei, forcibly embracing and kissing her until she gives in. And they reconcile. Meanwhile, Zhenhua pretends to return from a trip with Xiaohe, bringing local specialties as gifts. His father, who knows the truth from Professor Liang, confronts him. And Zhenhua admits to his breakup, urging his parents not to worry. Yaimei, feeling guilty about the wine stains she made in Guodong's apartment, paints beautiful wineflowers over them. Touched by her sincerity, he promises to address their long-distance issues soon. However, she prefers to focus on the present. Zhenhua persistently sends friend requests to Su Zhengsheng on QQ until she reluctantly accepts and then quickly blocks him. Undeterred, he calls her, feigning a worsening injury to manipulate her into coming over. Su Zhengsheng sees through his act and mocks him. Frustrated, he leaves a negative review for her on the forum. Wang Guodong's mother urges him to report to Paris promptly, suspecting his hesitation is due to Yaimei. She criticizes him for being as sentimental as his father, prompting Guodong to end their video call angrily. Incensed by the forum review, Su Zhengsheng calls Zhenhua repeatedly, but he ignores her calls. She eventually confronts him in person, leading to a heated argument. Realizing he had gone too far, Zhenhua deleted his forum post, and Su Zhengsheng softened, showing concern for his injury. His anger dissipated, and as he got up to make tea for her, he accidentally spilled boiling tea on his injured foot, causing him to scream in pain. Su Zhengsheng quickly rushed him to the hospital. Zhuang Guodong, having completed his visa and work handover, prepared to leave for Paris. Despite their impending separation, she smiled, wanting Zhuang Guodong to remember her happy face. As the plane was about to take off, they shared a tearful goodbye kiss, and Yaimei broke down in tears as she watched him disappear from view. Upon arriving in Paris, Wang Guodong dragged his luggage through heavy rain to find a public phone booth. He called Yaimei, and they poured out their feelings, confessing how much they missed each other. He regretted going to Paris, while she also missed him deeply. He found his rented apartment and met his roommate, Issa, a cheerful young man who gave him a brief tour. As he unpacked, Guodong nostalgically placed a photo of him and Yaimei in the most visible spot in his room. After settling in, he eagerly video called Yaimei. Despite intermittent connectivity issues, they promised to keep in touch, and Yaimei reluctantly ended the call. After several interactions, the hostility between Zhenhua and Su Zhengsheng dissipated, and they began to care for each other like friends. She even taught Zhenhua how to use the dumbbells properly. Yaimei traveled to Shanghai to immerse herself in an avant-garde art exhibition. Working seamlessly with her colleagues and leveraging new media for extensive promotion, the exhibition was a resounding success. Zhang Xuechong hosted a celebration banquet, publicly acknowledging Yaimei's excellent work and coordination skills. Her colleagues congratulated her, and Yaimei wanted to share the good news with her lover, but he was in a meeting. After the meeting, he intended to return Yaimei's call, but his supervisor, Naomi, took him to meet Paolo, an Italian museum director he had long wanted to meet. During their meeting, Guodong showed Naomi a photo of Huang Yaimei, and Naomi complimented her beauty. Back at her hotel, Yaimei waited late into the night for a call from Guodong, but none came. She fell asleep and woke up still without a message from him. When she called, Guodong lied about working late, promising to video call her the next day. Su Zhengsheng is working late, saw Zhenhua online and offered more tips on using dumbbells. He invited her to give him a personal demonstration. But their conversation was interrupted when her mother called to demand money for her stepbrother's tuition. Angered by her mother's continuous financial demands despite past mistreatment, she agreed to send the money but grew more upset as she thought about it. She then asked Shenhua to join her for a drink to vent her frustrations. Guodong, having returned home late, video called Huang Yaimei the next morning. Despite his fatigue and Issa's teasing comments about Naomi, Yaimei grew suspicious. She found photos of Guodong and Naomi at a bar online and was furious at his perceived deceit, forwarding the picture to his email. After work, he called Yaimei to explain that the bar meeting was work-related, but she refused to believe him, accusing him of lying. Their argument escalated, and she angrily ended the call. As long as he apologizes, everything will be okay. Su Zhengsheng and Huang Zhenhua plan to work out together, but when they are going to leave, Bai Taiwan arrives to speak with Zhenhua. Su Zhengsheng goes running alone. Xiaohei didn't go on a trip with her parents, revealing her breakup with Zhenhua to her mother, leading to a big fight. She moves to her school dormitory and ignores her parents' calls, prompting her father to seek Zhenhua's help. He agrees to check on Xiaohei, and her father expresses regret that Xiaohei's first boyfriend wasn't Zhenhua. Zhang Xuechong wants to hold an art exhibition for an autistic child and offers the project to Yaimei. She declines, as she plans to visit Guodong in Paris. Su Zhengsheng and Zhang Xuechong try to convince her not to miss the opportunity, but she is determined and even considers resigning. Zhang Xuechong grants her a leave of absence, and Yaimei begins packing and brushing up on her French. Zhenhua, torn between helping Xiaohei and not disappointing Bai Taiwan, hasn't contacted Su Zhengsheng for 2 days. When they finally go for a night run, Su Zhengsheng guesses that Bai Taiwan is his ex-girlfriend's father and offers advice. Zhenhua, impressed by her insight, starts seeing her as a confidant. Yaimei travels to Paris and finds Zhuang Guodong's apartment waiting for him outside. He gets reprimanded by his boss for a contract mistake, but Naomi defends him, and he is grateful. Naomi offers to help him fix the contract, and they go to his apartment together. Hearing Guodong's voice, Yaimei rushes downstairs to meet him, and Naomi leaves. The couple reunites passionately, staying up late together. Zhuang Guodong continues working on the contract, with Yaimei keeping him company. He explains his plan to become a marketing manager and bring her to Paris, but Yaimei is upset about leaving her job and family behind. Guodong tries to cheer her up, but she remains uneasy. Zhenhua visits Xiaohei, only to find out that she went to her ex-boyfriend's hometown in Anhui. The ex-boyfriend calls Xiaohei, explaining he is engaged to someone his parents introduced and hopes she moves on. Heartbroken, Xiaohei returns to Beijing and falls ill. She focuses on her studies and aims to work in a research institute abroad. Zhenhua comforts and invites her to work out together, but she isn't interested. Zhuang Guodong takes a day off to spend with Yaimei, but an emergency at work forces him to return in the afternoon. They visit nearby attractions, but he is distracted by work emails. They have a quick lunch and go to his office, where Guodong socializes with colleagues and shares a birthday cake. Yaimei watches from a window, feeling disconnected from the new life Guodong is building without her. After work, Guodong plans to make it up to Yaimei, but his mother calls, asking him to attend a charity gala. He takes Yaimei along and introduces her to his mother, who then asks him to greet someone named Lulu. Yaimei's stunning appearance immediately attracts the attention of the guests. Zhuang Guodong introduces her to his friends and starts drinking and talking with them, leaving Yaimei feeling left out. She quietly retreats to a corner and drinks alone. Zhuang's mother brings Lulu to meet her son. The two, having not seen each other for years, chat animatedly. Watching them from afar, Yaimei suddenly feels like an outsider. Early the next morning, she quietly packs her bags, kisses Guodong gently, and leaves resolutely. When he wakes up and finds that Yaimei has left without saying goodbye, he is extremely anxious but has to return to work due to an urgent call from his supervisor. Yaimei arrives in Beijing and receives messages from Guodong as soon as she turns on her phone. She excuses herself by saying there is an urgent matter at work. At work, Su Zhengsheng immediately notices that she is distracted and confides in her about her worries and frustrations. Su Zhengsheng comforts her with kind words. Zhang Xuechong and her husband Lao Jiyu live in different cities, one in Hong Kong and the other in Beijing. Both are unwilling to give up their careers, and their relationship has grown cold. 2 months ago, Zhang Xuechong went to Hong Kong to ask Lao Jiyu for a divorce, and soon after returning, she discovered she was pregnant. She decides to have an abortion and calls Yaimei. Su Zhengsheng also comes to help handle the hospital admission procedures. The doctor schedules the abortion for the next day. That evening, Yaimei secretly brings red wine to Zhang Xuechong. As she is about to drink, Yaimei asks why she is giving up on her marriage and child. Zhang Xuechong, who deeply loves Lao Jiyu, explains that she does not want to spend her life just being Mrs. Jiyu. So she must give up her marriage and child. Before the surgery, Lao Jiyu rushes from Hong Kong to see Zhang Xuechong. Yaimei quickly hides outside and asks the nurse to give Zhang Xuechong more time to prepare. Lao Jiyu chats with Zhang Xuechong for a while, leaves the divorce papers and departs, asking Yaimei to take good care of her. Zhang Xuechong asks Yaimei to give the papers to her lawyer. Guodong and Yaimei video call, and he talks about his plans excitedly. He has worked hard and is about to be promoted to marketing manager after excelling in his training. He says that in 5 years, he will get permanent residency. He talks at length about his work and life plans, making Yaimei feel he is a stranger. She resolutely breaks up with him during the call. Guodong agrees and angrily hangs up. After work, Yaimei walks out into the pouring rain, letting the cold water hit her face and body. She drinks alone to drown her sorrows and quickly gets drunk. Su Zhengsheng and Zhenhua rush to the bar to get her and, after much effort, take her home. Zhenhua invites Su Zhengsheng for a drink. They drink until they pass out on the couch. Early in the morning, he wakes up to find himself lying on Su Zhengsheng's lap, and both feel awkward about their proximity. Su Zhengsheng quickly finds an excuse to leave. Yaimei wakes up and immediately goes to Guodong's home in Beijing to pack her things. With tears in her eyes, she wipes away the 4 flowers on the wall, determined to end things with him completely. Guodong sends a text message to make up with Yaimei, but she firmly refuses, having completely given up on him. Drained, she collapses on the floor and falls asleep, accidentally dialing her mother's number. In the middle of the night, her mother is startled by the call, but there is no sound on the other end. Her mother sent numerous messages to Yaimei but received no response. They stay up all night, anxious about their daughter's safety. When Yaimei wakes up in the morning, she sees countless messages and realizes her mistake. She rushes home immediately. Upon seeing her, her father scolds her harshly and also reprimands Zhenhua. Feeling guilty and unable to explain, Yaimei only cries. Trying to keep her mind off things, Yaimei goes to work and requests to take over the charity art exhibition project from Zhang Xuechong. Concerned that she hasn't recovered from her emotional turmoil, Zhang Xuechong has assigned the project to Han Ying instead. Yaimei volunteers to assist Han Ying. Yaimei selects a painting by Xiaojia, a girl with autism, for the charity exhibition and spends a long time talking with her. Han Ying suggests renting a venue to display the works, but Yaimei proposes using the company's lobby and conference room to save costs and promote the company. She also suggests continuing to focus on supporting children with special needs, an idea Zhang Xuechong supports. Zhenhua and Su Zhengsheng start exercising together regularly, rain or shine. His mother suspects Zhenhua is in a relationship, but he finds various excuses to hide the truth. After work, Yaimei locks herself in her room, studying psychological issues in children with special needs. She proposes to Zhang Xuechong the idea of setting up a special children's foundation. She works overtime to prepare a proposal, quickly receiving approval and funding from the head office. Zhang Xuechong assigns the task to Yaimei, with Su Zhengsheng fully supporting her. Thanks to their hard work, the project progresses smoothly. Su Zhengsheng organizes a celebration party. Yaimei is reminded of her time with Zhuang Guodong and starts to cry. While preparing for the charity art exhibition, Yaimei meets many children with psychological issues and is inspired to study psychology. She resigns from her job to pursue further studies in Shanghai. Despite her family's reluctance to see her go so far, she is determined. Her mother accompanies Yaimei to buy supplies and encourages her to study hard and forget her unhappy past. As the school term begins, Yaimei heads to Shanghai, suitcase in tow, and directly enrolls at her new school. Fang Shiwen, a handsome and outstanding third-year computer science graduate student, helps welcome the freshman. Captivated by Yaimei, he falls for her at first sight and finds her information from the registration form. A month later, Yaimei has adapted to the intense yet simple campus life, working part-time at a German beer house. She feels fulfilled and content, often writing to Su Zhengsheng about her studies and life. Fang Shiwen, closely observing her, also works part-time at the beer house to get closer to her. One evening, a couple speaking in heavy Shanghai dialect comes to the beer house, confusing Yaimei. Fang Shiwen steps in to help, earning her gratitude. Meanwhile, the parents suspect Huang Zhenhua and Su Zhengsheng are dating and invite her for dinner. Zhenhua awkwardly explains they are just mentor and students, but his parents are intent on finding out about Yaimei's situation. A man repeatedly visits the beer house, specifically asking Yaimei to serve him and ordering a lot of food. Realizing his intentions, she confronts him and tells him to give up. Fang Shiwen, watching from the sidelines, feels secretly pleased. After work, Fang Shiwen sees Yaimei get on a bus and decides to ride his bike home. Suddenly, he notices a man following her onto the bus. Worried, he chases after the bus on his bike, sweating profusely, until he sees her safely leave and go home. The company sends Zhenhua to Sydney for an architectural design awards ceremony, but he swaps assignments with a colleague heading to Germany to visit Guodong. Before leaving, Zhenhua calls Yaimei, urging her to reconcile with Guodong. Unwilling to continue the torment, she asks him not to share her contact information. After hanging up, she secretly wipes away her tears, which Fang Shiwen notices. Zhenhua heads to Paris to see Guodong, who has been promoted and received a salary increase. Eager to learn about Yaimei, he inquires about her situation from her brother. Unwilling to see the two lovers become strangers, Zhenhua advises Guodong to return to Beijing and start anew with Yaimei. However, he is reluctant to give up his hard-earned position as the marketing manager at the headquarters. Zhenhua feels it's a pity but is helpless to change his mind. Upon returning from his trip, Zhenhua heads to Shanghai to see his sister. Male classmates, mistaking Zhenhua for her boyfriend, are hostile towards him. Eagerly, Zhenhua informs Yaimei about Guodong's situation, but she doesn't want to hear it as she has completely moved on. Zhenhua, noticing her resolve, doesn't press further and casually mentions Su Zhengsheng, sharing amusing anecdotes. Yaimei quickly realizes he likes Su Zhengsheng, and he admits his feelings. Yaimei buys 2 expensive tickets to an art exhibition and invites Zhenhua, but he already has a ticket to Beijing. With no close friends to invite, she asks the beerhouse staff, Yingzi, but they find it too costly. Fang Shiwen buys the tickets from Yaimei, hoping to go with her. Arriving early at the exhibition hall, Yaimei is momentarily startled, thinking she hears Guodong calling her and sees him running towards her. Realizing it's an illusion, she gathers and enters the exhibition with Fang Shiwen. It's Fang Shiwen's first time at an art exhibition, and Yaimei explains the meaning behind each piece, which he diligently notes down. She notices his notebook with the Fudan University logo and learns they are schoolmates, having previously thought they were just colleagues at the beer house. Fang Shiwen had fallen for her on the first day of the welcome event and took the job at the beer house to get closer to her, though he was too shy to admit his true feelings. Meanwhile, Su Zhengsheng receives another call from her mother, who always demands money. This time, her mother wants to sell the house to help her current husband pay off debts, which she firmly refuses. As the house was left by her deceased father, and her mother has no right to sell it. Since the day of the exhibition, Yaimei and Shiwen became good friends, studying in the library and working at the beer house. She adopts a stray cat but can't keep it in her dormitory, so she leaves it in the beerhouse's backyard. Fang Shiwen, pretending to rent a place outside, offers to take care of the cat, requesting leave from the store manager to find an apartment. He views several apartments, but landlords don't allow pets. Finally, he finds a 2-story house where the landlord permits pets, but he must rent both floors. He convinces the landlord to rent only the lower floor with insufficient funds, paying a hefty 6-month deposit. He buys a cage and brings the cat to his new place. Yaimei, considering renting an apartment too, makes Fang Shiwen happy, who promptly rents the upper floor, despite the high rent, even selling his bicycle to cover the cost. Zhenhua continues his evening workouts with Su Zhengsheng, but she misses a session. Concerned, he calls her and learns she decided to visit her hometown. Worried when Su Zhengsheng goes silent for days, he packs and heads to her hometown in Anhui. Su Zhengsheng's stepfather injured someone in an accident, and the victim's family demands money daily. Her mother pressures Su Zhengsheng to pay compensation and cover her brother Xiaoji's tuition, threatening to make Xiaoji drop out if she refuses. She firmly denies the demands. To her delight, Fang Shiwen convinces Yaimei to rent the upper floor for only 800 yuan. Su Zhengsheng takes Xiaoji out to eat, promising to fund his education if he reveals the truth about their stepfather's sexual abuse. Xiaoji witnessed the assault, and Su Zhengsheng wants him to testify. She buys the family house, letting her mother and Xiaoji live there. Upon arrival in Anhui, Zhenhua texts Su Zhengsheng his location. Distraught after dealing with her family, Su Zhengsheng drinks heavily and seeks out Zhenhua at his hotel, where they have an intimate night together. The next morning, Zhenhua wakes to find Su Zhengsheng gone. She calls him from the train to Beijing, asking him to forget the previous night. Yaimei packs her belongings to move, with Fang Shiwen helping. Their classmates assume they are dating. There was no news from Su Zhengsheng for several days. Zhenhua has contacted her many times, but she still hasn't responded. Zhang Xuechong and Su Zhengsheng have worked together for many years, and they can talk about anything. But Su Zhengsheng did not tell her the reason for going home this time. Zhang Xuechong also guessed that she encountered difficulties and promised to give her a raise. She advised Su Zhengsheng to be nicer to herself and not to torture herself with other people's mistakes. They drank and talked happily, and Su Zhengsheng's mood suddenly became clear. Zhenhua has not received a reply from Su Zhengsheng. He is restless and has to call Yaimei in Shanghai for help. Yaimei knows that Su Zhengsheng is a person who is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. As long as she does not refuse, there is hope. She advises her brother to wait patiently. But he can't wait. Su Zhengsheng suddenly comes to Zhenhua's house. He is excited and incoherent. Su Zhengsheng feels that she is not worthy of him. When she was 16, she was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. Not only did her mother not help her, but she also scolded her. Zhenhua is stunned. He did not expect her to have such a tragic experience. Change scene. Hu Lin suddenly comes to Yaimei to pick up a ball and claims to be Fang Shiwen's girlfriend. Yaimei ignores her. Shiwen and Yaimei rented a house on the upper and lower floors. He was very caring towards Yaimei. She suddenly changed her previous enthusiasm and ignored Fang Shiwen. She also looked for a house everywhere, wanting to move out as soon as possible. Fang Shiwen found Yaimei's classmates to understand the whole story. He went to Yaimei to explain, but she didn't listen. The mother came to Shanghai to see Yaimei. Fang Shiwen took the initiative to help her carry her luggage, but Huang Yaimei didn't need it and refused Fang Shiwen. Her mother saw that Yaimei had a bad attitude towards Fang Shiwen, and curiously asked why. She made up excuses to cover it up. After Yaimei went to school, her mother went to buy vegetables. Fang Shiwen took the initiative to accompany her to the vegetable market and acted as a Shanghainese interpreter. He also asked her to help him explain the misunderstanding in front of Yaimei. She agreed and invited Fang Shiwen to have dinner together in the evening. During dinner, Yaimei didn't say a word and kept eating. Her mother explained on behalf of Fang Shiwen that Hu Lin was not his girlfriend. He promised not to let Hu Lin harass Yaimei again, and briefly described his family situation. His father died when he was very young. He and his mother depended on each other and lived a very tight life. Fang Shiwen won a full scholarship with excellent grades and earned his living expenses by working part-time. He couldn't give his girlfriend a better life. Yaimei was slightly relieved. She felt very lonely and often sent emails to Su Zhengsheng to complain. They shared the same pain and appreciated each other. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye, and Zhenhua mustered up the courage to confess to Su Zhengsheng and changed into a neat suit. He came to the company with flowers to wait for Su Zhengsheng. She rejected his confession of love in person. Zhang Xuechong felt that Su Zhengsheng was too rational and advised her to have a happy relationship. Su Zhengsheng felt that made sense. But she had been secluded for too long and had become accustomed to loneliness. Su Zhengsheng sent Yaimei an email in reply, telling her about her inner distress and entanglement. She pondered for a long time and asked Zhenhua to meet. She wanted to try dating him and made 3 rules. If they felt that they were not suitable, they could break up at any time and never be entangled. He agreed to all of them and confessed to her again. The two began to date officially. Shiwen and Yaimei helped each other, and their relationship became more and more harmonious. In the blink of an eye, it was the Spring Festival. Shiwen stayed in Shanghai for the New Year, while Yaimei returned to Beijing to spend the Spring Festival with her parents. The parents prepared a large table full of dishes, and the family had a New Year's Eve dinner together. Yaimei called Zhuang Taiwan to wish him a happy New Year. Zhuang Guodong stayed in Paris for the New Year. His father spent New Year's Eve alone. He persuaded Yaimei and Guodong to reconcile. She felt bitter but could not say it. She looked out the window at the lights and fireworks, and the grievances that had been buried in her heart surged up again. She wanted to delete all of Guodong's contact information, but she couldn't bear it. She returned to Shanghai early after the Spring Festival. She went directly to the beer house and brought Shiwen the spare ribs made by her mother. The beer house was about to close, and a young couple came here to eat. The husband yelled at his wife under the influence of alcohol. Yaimei couldn't stand it, so she stood up and accused the man. The man was enraged and asked Yaimei to apologize to him. She refused to do so, so he rushed up and hit her. Shiwen is angry. The two wrestled together. They were injured. Yaimei accompanied him to the hospital for bandaging. The police understood the whole story and checked the surveillance video of the beer house. The woman not only did not appreciate it but also sued Feng Shiwen, asking him to wait for the other party's demand. Yaimei and Shiwen were fired for this, and they went home together. She cared for Shiwen and brought electric blankets and heaters to keep him warm. Shiwen felt warm in his heart. She accidentally saw a photo of her on the wall. She recognized this as a photo the organizer had taken of her and sent to the author. After Feng Shiwen saw Yaimei at the welcome party, he fell in love with her at first sight and kept an eye on Yaimei's every move. He then went to the old house to see the art exhibition and asked the boss for the photo. Shiwen returned the photo to Yaimei, and she asked him to keep it as a souvenir. Yaimei thanked Feng Shiwen for helping her. They both lost their jobs. Shiwen did not regret it. He took the opportunity to express his feelings to Yaimei. He couldn't help but want to kiss her. The little cat suddenly came out to disrupt the situation. They were both embarrassed. Yaimei's heart is moved. Huang Zhenhua asked a friend to investigate Feng Shiwen's situation. His family background is average, but he is very hardworking. Su Zhengsheng is very dissatisfied with Zhenhua's approach. He is worried that Yaimei has met the wrong person. Zhang Xuechong went to Shanghai on a business trip. She came to see Yaimei on purpose and found that she seemed different. She was dressed simply and without makeup. Zhang Xuechong asked Yaimei to accompany her to the charity dinner. She had not participated in such an event for a long time, so she hurried home to change into a dress. Shiwen wanted to invite Yaimei to dinner, and saw her trying on a dress when he entered the door. Seeing her change into a beautiful evening gown for an event, he hesitated and didn't mention his birthday. Yaimei attended the charity gala, where the atmosphere was lively with toasts, music, and dancing. Although several men approached her, she felt out of place and uninterested in socializing. Suddenly remembering that it was Shiwen's birthday, she eagerly wanted to leave to find him. Yaimei changed from her elegant gown, wiped her makeup, and bought a small cake. She also made longevity noodles by herself. When Shiwen returned home from work, he was moved to tears seeing the birthday cake and the bowl of longevity noodles Yaimei had prepared for him. Although she had forgotten to add salt, he felt it was the best longevity noodles he had ever tasted. Yaimei brought out the cake and sang him a birthday song. Overwhelmed, Shiwen kissed her. Spring 2006 arrived, and on Yaimei's parents' wedding anniversary, she bought gifts for her parents and video called them. She took the opportunity to mention bringing Feng Shiwen to Beijing before her graduation, which delighted her parents. Zhenhua wanted to take Su Zhengsheng to meet his parents, but she wasn't ready for marriage and wanted to continue dating. Zhenhua didn't push the issue. When Yaimei brought Feng Shiwen home, her parents warmly welcomed him. The mother prepared a large meal, and the father suggested that Zhenhua take Shiwen to tour Beijing. Zhenhua made excuses, which angered Yaimei. He felt Shiwen was not good enough for her and compared him unfavorably to Zhuang Guodong. Yaimei firmly loves Shiwen, warning Zhenhua not to badmouth him in front of their parents. Shiwen briefly explained his job and then discussed his views on the theories in Yaimei's father's books, impressing him. Her mother was worried her daughter would stay in Shanghai after graduation, but Shiwen offered to quit his job and move to Beijing with her, making her mother very happy. Her brother was cold towards Shiwen, suspecting him of trying to ingratiate himself with the family and controlling Yaimei. He complained to Su Zhengsheng, but she advised him not to worry unnecessarily. Yaimei's father began to doubt Feng Shiwen's seemingly perfect behavior, feeling it might be a facade, while her mother supported him. Su Zhengsheng called her mother, urging her to transfer the house to her name, but her mother made excuses. She decided to take leave to handle the matter herself. Zhenhua offered to lend her money to resolve the issue, but she declined. Su Zhengsheng made a down payment for a new house and then showed it to Zhenhua. He wanted to share the cost. But Sue insisted on buying it herself, not wanting to rely on anyone. He felt she was treating him like an outsider, leading to a heated argument and an unhappy ending to their day. After graduating with her master's degree, Yaimei started looking for a job. Their relationship deepened, with them wanting to be together all the time. Meanwhile, Su Zhengsheng's stepfather hit someone with his car, and her mother wanted to sell the house left by her father to pay for the compensation. Su Zhengsheng paid for the house, and her stepfather used the money to settle the compensation. However, her mother delayed transferring the ownership to Su Zhengsheng. When she returned home to handle the matter, her mother not only refused to transfer the house but also accused Su Zhengsheng of being ungrateful. She couldn't bear it and left with her younger brother. She learned from him that after paying off the compensation, her stepfather went back to gambling and took all of her brother's hard-earned money, but he was too scared to testify against their father, claiming he was too young to remember. Knowing her brother was afraid of being beaten by their stepfather, she didn't press further. Huang Zhenhua, in his free time, went fishing by the river and coincidentally met Bai Xiaohe, who also came to fish. They hadn't seen each other for a long time and chatted like old friends. She later invited him to go fishing again. Though reluctant, he went with her to the outskirts. Bai Xiaohe, who didn't know how to fish, asked Huang Zhenhua to teach her. After catching a big bass, she invited him to cook it at her place. Zhenhua sensed that Xiaohe wanted to rekindle their relationship. He wanted to tell her he had a girlfriend but ultimately held back. After her graduation ceremony, Yaimei applied to a publishing house, where her exceptional skills and innovative thinking impressed the editor-in-chief, and she was hired on the spot. When Su Zhengsheng returned to Beijing, Zhenhua picked her up at the airport. They were thrilled to see each other again. He wanted to treat her to a nice meal, but she insisted on going to his place. She gave him a set of pajamas, hinting that she wanted him to move in with her, which made Huang Zhenhua too excited to speak, and he decided to move in that night. As Zhenhua was packing to move in with Su Zhengsheng, he received a message from Xiaohe. Not wanting to arouse Su Zhengsheng's suspicion, he made up an excuse. Fang Shiwen was leading his team in overtime to develop software. The process was going smoothly, but during the final testing phase, a colleague named Xiao Zhou became distracted due to his mother's illness. Fang Shiwen asked him to go home to care for her and took over his work. When the landlord came to collect the rent, Shiwen was still working late. Yaimei learned from the landlord that Shiwen had been paying half her rent for 3 years. She wanted to know what else he was hiding from her. Fang Shiwen confessed that he had fallen for her at first sight and feared she would move to a cheaper place. So he decorated the apartment to her liking and took a job at the beer bar to be close to her. Yaimei, unaware of all this, was both amused and upset. Early the next morning, Fang Shiwen went to work and found chaos at the office. Xiao Zhou had overridden Rongxin Company's data while burning CDs. Their manager, Jason, severely scolded Xiao Zhou, but Fang Shiwen defended him, having verified Xiao Zhou's work himself. They rushed to Rongxin Company to investigate. Shiwen came home late, clearly troubled. Yaimei noticed and tried to comfort him, but he remained silent and went to his room. He confirmed that Xiao Zhou's data was correct, but Rongxin Company's data was still overridden. The manager wanted to hold someone accountable, and Shiwen took the blame. Shiwen, feeling frustrated at work, let his innate sense of inferiority get the best of him and decided to break up with Yaimei. She understood that he had his reasons, gave him clean clothes and asked him to eat first before talking. He explained the whole situation. He had taken the blame for Xiao Zhou and might face a huge compensation fee. Now that he had nothing left and his future seemed bleak, he didn't want to burden Yaimei. However, not only did she refuse to break up, but she also wanted to marry him. He thought she pitied him, but she was determined and believed he would prove his worth through his actions. Shiwen then expressed his desire to start a company and develop software everyone could use. Yaimei offered him all her savings to support his venture. Unable to refuse her generosity, Fang Shiwen accepted. He and his friend Haozi searched for a place to set up their office and quickly found one. Shiwen's company was established, and Yaimei helped clean up the place and asked Su Zhengsheng to introduce clients from Qingting to Shiwen. He left early and came home late daily, working with Haozi on a software project about to go into testing. Aware that he hadn't given Yaimei enough attention, Shiwen appreciated her understanding and full support for his startup. Xiaohe invited Zhenhua to go fishing again, claiming she had learned to steam fish and wanted to make it for him. Feeling conflicted, Zhenhua called Yaimei for help. She realized the serious situation and flew back to Beijing over the weekend. That day, Zhenhua went to Xiaohei's place to steam the fish. Xiaohei, emboldened by alcohol, confessed that she wanted a child but didn't want to get married. Zhenhua made an excuse and left. Yaimei blamed Zhenhua for not telling Xiaohei about his relationship with Su Zhengsheng, which gave Xiaohei false hopes. She reminded Zhenhua to be honest with Su Zhengsheng to avoid future problems. Yaimei borrowed money from Zhenhua to support Fang Shiwen's startup and gave him an IOU. Zhenhua confessed to Su Zhengsheng about meeting Xiaohei. Though hurt, she couldn't help but love Zhenhua, who was deeply moved and promised to stay with her, strengthening their bond. Yaimei visited Shiwen's company and provided feedback on the new software. She inadvertently saw the software designed for Qingting, with the final partner being the Golan Group, where Zhuang Guodong worked. Xiao Zhou discovered that the department manager, Jason, had caused the data to overwrite out of jealousy towards Fang Shiwen. Shiwen was indifferent. Xiao Zhou, disillusioned with the company's inefficiency, wanted to resign and join Fang Shiwen's venture. Shiwen and Haozi agreed. By the spring of 2007, Zhuang Guodong had been promoted to operations director at Golan Group and returned home to negotiate deals. He visited his father, who was delighted and prepared a big meal for him. Seeing their dilapidated house, Guodong offered to pay for repairs, but his father declined since it was a public house. Guodong inquired about Yaimei and learned she had a boyfriend. Unwilling to give up, he checked their message history, and his father reluctantly handed over his phone. Zhuang Guodong read all of Yaimei's messages and, noticing his feelings, his father advised him to forget her. Shiwen, preparing to meet a client, had Yaimei help him with his suit and tie, wishing him success. Zhuang Guodong visited Qingting Group to discuss a project with Zhang Xuechong, who had Su Zhengsheng receive him. Zhuang Guodong asked about Yaimei, but Su Zhengsheng remained cold and advised him to stop pursuing her. Zhang Xuechong, hearing that her ex-husband Lao Jiyu had a terminal illness, wanted to spend his final days with him. She resigned from the company and recommended Su Zhengsheng as the next general manager. Zhang Xuechong noticed Zhuang Guodong's lingering feelings for Yaimei, and Su Zhengsheng suspected he would contact Yaimei. Zhang Xuechong advised her not to interfere and let Yaimei handle it herself. Early in the morning, Yaimei went to work at the publishing house, where Zhuang Guodong had been waiting downstairs for a long time. She didn't want to talk to him, so she hurried away. She couldn't concentrate on her work all morning. Guodong was still there by noon, and Yaimei, out of frustration, didn't go out for lunch. After work, she saw Zhuang Guodong still waiting for her. Feeling sorry for him waiting all day without food, she reluctantly agreed to meet him. He took Yaimei to a Western restaurant, showing concern for her and mistakenly thinking she studied psychology because of him. She laughed at his self-importance. Zhuang Guodong, who had worked hard to become the head of operations at the headquarters and obtained permanent residency in France, revealed that he did all this to win back her. She congratulated him and advised him to forget the past. After the meal, Yaimei insisted on paying the bill, not wanting to owe Guodong anything. He wanted to meet her again, but she politely declined and decisively took a taxi home. Watching Yaimei leave, he felt a mix of emotions. Yaimei cried as she got into the taxi, overwhelmed by the memories and grievances of her past relationship with him. Back home, she vomited uncontrollably. Fang Shiwen, taking care of her, was curious about who she drank so much with, but Yaimei said nothing. He found the receipt from the Western restaurant in her pocket and went there the next morning, pretending to have lost a USB drive. The manager refused to check the surveillance footage without police involvement, but Shiwen's persistence eventually paid off. From the surveillance footage, he was jealous and saw his lover dining with Zhuang Guodong. That evening, he handed Yaimei his bank card, the company's business license, and financial records and proposed to her. Yaimei, deeply touched, expressed her love for him. She called her parents to inform them of her wedding and asked them to send the household register. Her father had always hoped to give her a grand wedding and was upset that she planned to marry the penniless Shiwen without a formal ceremony. Zhenhua and Su Zhengsheng were surprised by Yaimei's sudden decision to marry, worried it was an impulsive reaction after seeing Zhuang Guodong. Zhenhua wanted to ask her directly. Zhuang Guodong, back in Beijing, was heartbroken, reminiscing about the good times he shared with Yaimei in their now changed home. Zhenhua traveled to Shanghai with the household register, repeatedly confirming Yaimei's true intentions to marry Fang Shiwen, not as a way to escape Zhuang Guodong. Satisfied with her assurance, he felt relieved. Su Zhengsheng called Shiwen to discuss the wedding, and he admitted his proposal, Fearing that delaying would risk losing Yaimei, he promised never to abandon her. Su Zhengsheng advised him not to let his insecurities sabotage their relationship, reminding him that Yaimei chose him for a reason. Shiwen appreciated her advice. Zhuang Guodong went to the publishing house to find Yaimei, only to learn she had taken leave to get married in Yanji. Shiwen took Yaimei to his hometown in Yanji for the wedding, where she quickly learned some Korean phrases. The wedding proceeded as planned, with family and friends offering their congratulations. After the banquet, everyone went home. Guodong persistently called Yaimei, who eventually stepped out to answer, claiming it was a wrong number. She excused herself, saying she ate too much and needed a walk. Concerned, Shiwen followed her outside but then returned to help his mother clean up. Zhuang Guodong had asked Zhenhua for Fang Shiwen's home address, which he provided without thinking. Upon learning what happened, Su Zhengsheng scolded Zhenhua. Upon arriving in Yanji, Guodong called Yaimei. She took Shiwen to meet him, clearly stating that they were married. Shiwen thanked Zhuang Guodong for coming to their wedding. Zhuang Guodong knew he was too late. He wished them happy wedding and left, disappointed. Yaimei assumed Su Zhengsheng had given Guodong the address, but Su Zhengsheng clarified it was Zhenhua. She chided Yaimei for letting Fang Shiwen meet Zhuang Guodong, warning that Shiwen's insecurities might turn Guodong into an imaginary rival. Yaimei realized the severity of the situation and sought Su Zhengsheng's advice, but she could only suggest that Fang Shiwen would have to face it on his own. The next morning, Yaimei and Shiwen went to a photo studio for wedding photos. He remained silent and sullen, but they continued registering their marriage. After the wedding, they returned to Shanghai, where Fang Shiwen brought local specialties for his colleagues and immediately immersed himself in work. Through relentless effort, Shiwen and his team's software finally received client approval. Overjoyed, he called Zhuang Guodong to meet. Zhuang Guodong rescheduled his flight to attend the meeting, where Shiwen gave him a box of wedding candies, subtly asserting his position. Shiwen revealed that when Zhuang Guodong went to Yanji, they hadn't actually registered their marriage yet. Yaimei had said so to make him give up. Zhuang Guodong invited Shiwen to a meal and specifically ordered Yaimei's favorite dishes. Shiwen claimed she was waiting at home for him to cook. Guodong reminisced about his time with Yaimei, hinting that her acceptance of simplicity came from her open-mindedness, not a lack of standards. He promised not to disturb her again and reminded Shiwen not to let her down. After dinner, Zhuang Guodong had the food packed for Shiwen to take home but tossed the wedding candies into the trash as soon as he left. Shiwen's pride deeply wounded. Initially wanted to throw the food away but couldn't bring himself to do it. He took it home, and Yaimei, thinking he bought it for her, enjoyed it immensely. Watching her eat, Shiwen felt a pang of jealousy. Taking on her new role, Su Zhengsheng faced immediate challenges. Han Ying confronted her during a meeting, revealing her ignorance about current projects and her over-reliance on her assistant, Wang Tianruo. Su Zhengsheng publicly criticized Han Ying and appointed Wang Tianruo as the new department manager, which Han Ying protested vehemently, but Su Zhengsheng remained firm. Fang Shiwen cares for Yaimei with care, frequently picking her up from work. Before long, Yaimei discovered she was pregnant, and Shiwen was ecstatic, celebrating the joyful news. After Yaimei became pregnant, Shiwen took great care of her and bought her favorite snacks and supplements. However, Yaimei lost 2 pounds in weight. Shiwen believed that Yaimei had lost weight because of her busy work and was worried that it would affect the development of the fetus. He persuaded Yaimei to resign and go home to raise her baby. She did not want a free meal at home and insisted on continuing to work. Golin Group opened a sister city art exhibition in the Asia-Pacific region. Qingzhou Company is one of the partners. Zhuang Guodong came to Su Zhengsheng to discuss business on behalf of the Golin Group. Su Zhengsheng asked Han Ying to be responsible for docking this project with Zhuang Guodong. Yaimei had a video connection with her parents in Beijing. She looked haggard, and her parents were very worried. Shiwen's inferiority complex began to trouble him again. He thought that Yaimei's family looked down on him, and no matter how Yaimei explained, it would not help. President Wang of the Construction Institute was investigated for embezzling public funds, and the company's accounts were sealed. Zhenhua had nothing to do and happened to have time to help Su Zhengsheng decorate his new house. He reported everything to Su Zhengsheng in detail. Su Zhengsheng was extremely busy daily, so he made his own decisions. Yaimei took the bus to work and suddenly fainted on the way. She was sent to the hospital. The doctor suspected that she had preeclampsia and suggested that she be hospitalized for 2 days of observation. Shiwen was worried about affecting the development of the fetus. He went to the editor-in-chief to ask for leave for Yaimei. Since Yaimei did not have a formal staff in the publishing house and could not take sick leave for a long time, Shiwen resigned from her job. He called his mother to help take care of his wife. Yaimei complained that he didn't tell her beforehand. When Fang's mother cooked according to her eating habits, she liked to add soy sauce. Yaimei couldn't get used to it. Shiwen reminded her mother to make it lighter. Her mother was furious and complained in Korean to Shiwen that Yaimei could not understand. His mother brought a lot of clothes, and the bed and table were filled with them. She also pulled out the eternal flowers planted by Yaimei and planted them with garlic. Huang Yaimei felt very awkward. Haozi carefully selected a graduate student who had returned from studying abroad among many applicants. Fang Shiwen did not admit him because he, like Zhuang Guodong, had returned from studying abroad. Haozi personally tested the applicant's professional ability. Shiwen insists on not using him. Haozi wants to discuss it with Yaimei, one of the shareholders. Shiwen threatens to transfer Yaimei's shares to his name when he makes money. Haozi slams the door and leaves in anger. Yaimei came to work at the publishing house and found that Shiwen had gone through the resignation procedures for her without authorization. She liked the job very much, but her husband had secretly gone through all the procedures with her identity document, and the editor-in-chief was helpless. Shiwen resigned on behalf of Yaimei without her consent, leading to a fierce argument between them. She is feeling wronged and video called her parents. With her mother not at home, she poured her heart out to her father, who comforted and advised her to follow her heart. Growing increasingly worried, her parents discussed visiting Shanghai to check on their daughter. Fang's mother was careless and unkempt, and her behavior clashed with Yaimei. She constantly watched and monitored Yaimei, leaving her feeling suffocated. Yaimei sneaked out when Fang's mother wasn't paying attention, but she followed her, eventually giving up when Yaimei was too far ahead. Wandering through the streets, Yaimei felt an unprecedented sense of freedom. She bought a bouquet on her way home. But Fang's mother accused her of wasting money and complained to her son. Although he said it was Yaimei's money, he was inwardly displeased, suspecting she was meeting someone who gave her the flowers. Yaimei insisted she just went for a walk and bought the flowers herself. She went out daily, unable to bear living under Fang's mother's surveillance. She saw a painting by a girl but didn't have enough money to buy it, so she called Su Zhengsheng. Su Zhengsheng offered to transfer money, but she refused, knowing money couldn't alleviate her helplessness and pain. Bai Eru was very pleased with Zhenhua's design and admired his talent. He proposed establishing an architecture company with Zhenhua as vice president or funding a company. He also understood the problems facing Zhenhua's current firm and advised him to consider them carefully. Zhenhua was torn between the security of his current job and Bai Eru's attractive offer. Yaimei's parents arrived in Shanghai to see her. She was out for a walk in the park when they arrived. Fang's mother boasted about cooking different dishes for Yaimei, who ate everything clean. Yaimei sees her parents at home and breaks down in tears, hugging her mother tightly. Her father was heartbroken. The mother pulled Shiwen aside, suspecting that Yaimei had complained to her parents, who were now there to confront them. He urged her not to overthink. Yaimei showed her parents around the apartment and expressed her desire to return to Beijing for a while. Yaimei's parents brought many ingredients from Beijing and cooked together, declining Shiwen's offer to visit the new house, preferring to spend quality time with Huang Yaimei. Yaimei ate heartily, smiling more than ever in front of Fang's mother, who felt resentful. After dinner, Yaimei's parents went back to their hotel. Her father, sighing the whole way, expressed his concern over Yaimei's troubled demeanor since marrying Shiwen. He wanted to take her back to Beijing, but her mother suggested observing for a few more days. Shiwen, overwhelmed by his inferiority complex, assumed that Yaimei's parents did not trust him and had come to inspect. Yaimei explained that her parents missed her, but he didn't believe her, accusing her of complaining to them and disrespecting his mother. Yaimei couldn't bear his accusations and went to bed angrily without resolving their argument. Bai Eru entrusted Zhenhua with designing the new resort hotel and offered to help him establish a company. Torn between the stability of his current job and this opportunity, Zhenhua consulted Su Zhengsheng. Knowing Bai Eru was the father of Huang's ex-girlfriend, Bai Xiaohe, she supported Zhenhua's entrepreneurial move and agreed to him accepting Bai Eru's investment. Yaimei discussed with Fang Shiwen about letting her parents stay in Shanghai for a while, allowing Fang's mother to return home for a break. He refused, citing inconvenience. When Yaimei suggested returning to Beijing with her parents, he vehemently opposed it, suspecting she wanted to see Zhuang Guodong. She, frustrated with his jealousy since meeting Guodong, pointed out his competitive attitude. Their argument escalated, overheard by Feng's mother, who advised Feng Shiwen to let Yaimei visit Beijing temporarily. He refused, promising his mother an increased allowance if she stayed in Shanghai. Zhenhua, preparing to visit Guangxi to bring Zhou Shihui back to Beijing, gifted Su Zhengsheng a treadmill. Touched, she gave him a key to her house, signifying their growing closeness. Shiwen messaged Yaimei to apologize, but she ignored him on her way to the hotel. Feeling the baby kick for the first time, she excitedly called Su Zhengsheng. She advised her to reconcile with Shiwen. Shiwen, troubled, went drinking with Xiao Zhou and vented about his struggles to support the family and his conflicts with Lin Hao over hiring overseas returnees. Xiao Zhou supported the need for such talent, but Feng Shiwen's bias against them stemmed from his rivalry with Zhuang Guodong. Drunk, he returned home and tearfully apologized to Yaimei, fearing she wouldn't return from Beijing. Yaimei softened, let him listen to the baby's heartbeat, and they reconciled. In Guangxi, Zhenhua found Zhou Shihui, who was thrilled to help him. Zhenhua reminded Zhou to respect Yaimei, as she was expecting. On the opening day of the 2008 Beijing Olympics, Yaimei went into premature labor. Zhenhua and Su Zhengsheng rushed to Shanghai. Yaimei's difficult labor had her crying out in pain. Her brother, anxious, demanded Shiwen sign for an epidural, but Feng's mother insisted on natural childbirth. Enraged, Zhenhua shouted at her, even threatening Shiwen to sign. Reluctantly, Shiwen complied. Yaimei safely delivered a baby girl, leaving Zhenhua ecstatic and Yaimei vowing to protect her daughter. Shiwen chose the name Feng Taichu with the help of a master. Feng's mother disliked her for giving birth to a daughter and was dissatisfied with her everywhere. She wanted to go back to her hometown in anger. Shiwen tried hard to keep her, but she wanted to wait until Yaimei gave birth to her grandson. Su Zhengsheng accidentally heard what Feng's mother said and felt very unhappy. Zhenhua hugged his niece Feng Taichu, praising her for being beautiful and cute. Zhenhua felt distressed when he saw Yaimei getting thinner and thinner. The house Yaimei rented was small and old. He wanted to rent a bigger house for Yaimei and her daughter. Shiwen asked Su Zhengsheng to visit the company, and she agreed. He promised to make Yaimei and her daughter live a better life. She reminded him to use his control at work and never use it on his family. Feng Shiwen heard something in her words. Zhou Shihui called Zhenhua to report on his work and recommended his good friend Fu Jiamen to work in the company. Finally, Zhou Shihui asked him about Yaimei's situation. Zhenhua warned him to give up on Yaimei as soon as possible. Su Zhengsheng was going back to Beijing with Zhenhua. He took Su Zhengsheng home to meet his parents. She was generous and decent and was deeply liked by Zhenhua's parents. In the spring of 2009, Yaimei passed the teacher qualification exam as she wished. Her husband was totally unaware of this. He accidentally discovered that Yaimei was preparing for the psychological counselor exam and was worried that she was too busy. He immediately decided to let his mother go back to her hometown. So Yaimei had no time to review her lessons. Zhenhua came to Harrison Company to discuss a cooperation project. Unexpectedly, the legal person was Guan Jiji, Zhou Shihui's ex-girlfriend. She and her husband co-founded Harrison Company. Zhenhua stated in advance that he and Zhou Shihui jointly opened this company. He was worried that Guan Jiji would not cooperate with them because of the past. Unexpectedly, she had let it go long ago and thanked Zhenhua for reminding her. After renovating the new house, Shiwen took Yaimei and her daughter to live there. While Yaimei was home caring for her husband and children, he was busy with his career outside. The family of three lived a happy and ordinary life. In a blink of an eye, Feng Taichu was 3 years old. Yaimei and Shiwen held a grand birthday party for her. Yaimei was going to an international school for an interview and asked Shiwen to take care of their daughter at home. Shiwen asked Yaimei to change her skirt into pants. She felt that he was unreasonable, but she didn't want to quarrel in front of her daughter, so she went out in anger. He couldn't focus on playing with their daughter and spent the evening restless and anxious. Yaimei still hadn't returned. He called and messaged her, but she kept her phone silent and didn't respond. Yaimei arrived home just in time to hear her daughter crying and hurriedly comforted her. Shiwen shouted at Yaimei, forbidding her from working and demanding she stay home to have a son. Yaimei, unwilling to have a second child and determined to work, argued with him again, and they ended up sleeping in separate rooms. Yaimei had raised Fang Taichu to be self-reliant from a young age, which Shiwen disapproved of. Zhenhua and Su Zhengsheng planned to get their marriage certificate, but she mustered the courage to reveal everything to him first. She told him about her high school relationship with a boy and how they both got into universities in Beijing. She married after he got a government job, which gave her Beijing household registration and an apartment. They realized their marriage was purely transactional and divorced. Zhenhua was already shocked to learn about her being sexually assaulted by her stepfather, and now this revelation left him conflicted. He drank alone at a bar. The next morning, his mother found him sleeping on the couch and asked what happened, but he couldn't explain. Shiwen discussed selling company shares to Yuanhang Group with Lin Hao but changed his mind at the last minute, selling to Tinlongxing for 5 million yuan instead. Lin Hao confronted him, but Shiwen dismissed him, citing his majority ownership. Angrily, Lin Hao stormed out. Yaimei called to congratulate Zhenhua, only to learn he and Su Zhengsheng hadn't gotten their marriage certificate. Worried, she returned to Beijing, leaving Shiwen to care for their daughter. Shiwen forbade her from going and yelled at her over the phone. Frustrated, Yaimei hung up and left a note before returning to Beijing with Taichu. Upon arrival, Yaimei visited Su Zhengsheng. She wanted to break up with Zhenhua and asked Yaimei to persuade him. Shiwen, finding the note, angrily called Yaimei, but she turned off her phone. Yaimei advised Zhenhua to break up with Su Zhengsheng. Although he didn't want to leave her, he felt conflicted. She gently persuaded him. Zhenhua went to see Su Zhengsheng in person and asked her to run a marathon with him. They started their marathon after a brief warm-up. By nightfall, they finally completed the marathon. Both were drained by the end, and they could barely walk. Zhenhua realized that life is like a marathon. Seeing Su Zhengsheng gave him the strength to keep going. Su Zhengsheng initially thought this run symbolized their breakup but was moved to tears when Zhenhua proposed a honeymoon in Phuket instead. On a walk, his parents saw their son leaning on Su Zhengsheng and felt relieved. They hurried home to prepare the household registration. Back in an empty house, Shiwen accidentally discovered Yaimei's job offer from the international school on her computer. He lied to Lu, a teacher at the school, claiming Yaimei was pregnant and unable to work. Zhenhua shared Su Zhengsheng's past with his parents, and with their approval, he decided to marry her immediately. Yaimei packed to return to Shanghai with Fang Taichu. Su Zhengsheng saw them off at the airport, where Yaimei vented her frustrations. Su Zhengsheng could only silently support her. Back in Shanghai, Shiwen eagerly questioned Fang Taichu about their activities in Beijing. Yaimei, annoyed by his behavior, avoided his questions. Shiwen noticed her manicure and felt displeased, but Yaimei liked it. She checked her email but found no news from the international school. Shiwen installed tracking software on her phone, which was left on the nightstand. Lin Hao resigned from the company, and Shiwen didn't try to stop him. He couldn't understand Lin Hao's desire for adventure over a steady income. Lin Hao wanted to pursue something more meaningful than making money. Yaimei went to the international school to check her interview results, only to learn she had been accepted but was turned down by Shiwen's false claim. Furious, she called him home. Shiwen, tracking her movements, realized she knew what he had done. Yaimei demanded a divorce. Shiwen, accusing her of infidelity, refused and threatened to keep her from seeing their child. Determined, Yaimei decided to file for divorce. The judge felt their relationship could still be salvaged and dismissed her case, citing insufficient grounds for divorce. Determined, Yaimei decided to refile after 6 months. Shiwen transferred his company's shares to Tinlongxing, laid off most employees, and used the money to buy a large villa for Fang Taichu. Yaimei disapproved of his unscrupulous methods and had no interest in the villa. When Su Zhengsheng heard about Yaimei's dismissed divorce case, she called to ask why. Yaimei had anticipated this outcome and planned to continue her legal battle. Meanwhile, she balanced caring for her daughter with freelance translation work, finding peace in her routine. The CEO of Tinlongxing Group invited Fang Shiwen to dinner, introducing him to the company's key personnel. A new secretary, Xiao Xiaoyu, developed a crush on Shiwen. Drinking heavily, he returned home drunk, boasting to Yaimei about his financial success before passing out from alcohol poisoning. She rushed him to the hospital, where medical staff saved his life. Upon waking, Shiwen, seeing Yaimei and Taichu by his side, declared he would rather die than divorce. Yaimei, resolute, urged him to take care of his health and stop drinking. Realizing her determination, Shiwen agreed to finalize the divorce once discharged. Yaimei packed her belongings and returned to Beijing with 4-year-old Fang Taichu. Shiwen tearfully saw them off at the airport. By 2013, Zhang Xuechong visited Beijing to propose co-founding an art gallery with Yaimei, naming it Man, a name chosen by Zhang Xuechong's late ex-husband, Lao Jiyu. Yaimei found a suitable location and wrote a detailed plan, seeking her brother's help with the design. Zhou Shihui, eager to assist, volunteered for the project but was rejected by Zhenhua, who assigned his assistant, Fu Jiamin, to manage it. Fu Jiamin meticulously recorded Yaimei's requirements and offered many helpful suggestions. Zhuang Guodong unexpectedly visited the site, congratulating Yaimei on his promotion and pleading for another chance at their relationship. Yaimei, bringing Fang Taichu to the dinner with Zhuang Guodong, saw how attentive he was to her daughter. Guodong, worried about Fang Taichu's preferences, had booked a French restaurant, but Yaimei opted for burgers. During dinner, Fang Taichu amusingly nicknamed Zhuang Guodong Jelly, leaving him embarrassed. Afterwards, he drove them home and hoped Yaimei to rekindle their relationship. She declined. Content with her current life. Through the relentless efforts of Zhenhua, Yaimei, and others, the Man Gallery's inaugural exhibition opened to much fanfare. However, Fang Taichu fell ill with a high fever, prompting Yaimei to take her to the hospital. She called Zhang Xuechong to explain her absence. At the opening ceremony of the Man Art Gallery, Zhang Xuechong delivered an enthusiastic speech, welcoming guests and explaining the significance of the name, Man. Fu Jiaying, also curious about Yaimei, attended the ceremony and wandered around the gallery in her absence. He stumbled upon a piano and played a spontaneous piece, which triggered a hidden mechanism opening a nearby storage cabinet, revealing a keychain. Using the keychain, he discovered an attic containing an unfinished painting illuminated by the sunset. Created by Yaimei, Zhuang Guodong sent a large bouquet to the gallery and received a thank you message from Yaimei. During a phone call, he bid her farewell, offering to stay in Beijing if she would rekindle their relationship. She wished him well, leading Guodong to realize their relationship was beyond repair. Yaimei received a call from Fu Jiamin informing her that Fu Jiaying had found the attic key and altered her painting. She hurried to the gallery but found Fu Jiaying had already left. She accidentally triggered an audio-visual setup that made her painting come to life, with rolling waves and flying seagulls accompanied by rock music, captivating Yaimei, who danced to the rhythm. Intrigued by Fu Jiaying's creativity, Yaimei called Fu Jiamin and learned that Fu Jiaying was performing at a bar. She rushed to the bar and joined the enthusiastic audience. Fu Jiaying recognized her instantly. After the performance, Yaimei approached him, and they quickly bonded over their shared interests. He cooked a hometown-style noodle dish for Yaimei, who was impressed by his cooking skills and musical talent. She explored his studio, discovering his contributions to various film scores. Mesmerized by his piano playing, she gazed at him dreamily. Suddenly, an alarm reminded Fu Jiaying to take his medication. Huang Yaimei saw him taking Viagra and misunderstood his intentions, storming out in anger. He chased after her, explaining he used the medication for a heart condition, not for other purposes. Su Zhengsheng's mother called Zhenhua. Interrupting his meeting, Zhenhua rushed home and took her out for a meal. Su Zhengsheng's mother asked Zhenhua for a 200,000 yuan betrothal gift, claiming it was customary and the minimum amount required. Zhenhua usually spent money lavishly and did not save that much money at all. He had to borrow money from Zhou Shihui without telling Su Zhengsheng. Zhenhua borrowed 200,000 yuan from Zhou Shihui to give to Su's mother, and Su's mother left with satisfaction. Before leaving, she told Zhenhua not to tell Su Zhengsheng about this. Zhenhua felt very uncomfortable but still agreed. Yaimei, picking up Taichu from kindergarten, ran into Fu Jiaying and accused him of stalking her. Fu Jiaying clarified that his medication was for his heart, not what she thought, but she didn't believe him. The teacher then called Yaimei to the classroom, with Fu Jiaying following. Taichu was upset over the death of her pet rabbit, Dao Dao. Fu Jiaying inadvertently made her cry harder. To cheer her up, he bought a birthday cake, suggesting they celebrate Dao Dao's life. Taichu smiled again, and Yaimei and Fu Jiaying shared the cake with her. Taichu wrote a song for the dead bunny. She and Jiaying sang the song together in the bar. Jiaying also invited Yaimei to dance on stage. After the performance, Yaimei drove Fang Taichu home. Jiaying escorted them on a motorcycle. Yaimei had a good impression of him, and he also gradually fell in love with her. Since meeting Jiaying, Yaimei's mood has suddenly become brighter. Su Zhengsheng saw that she was in love. Yaimei had to admit that she liked Jiaying. Jiaying casually asked about Yaimei's ex-husband. She answered truthfully that Fang Shiwen was a good person, but the two were unsuitable. They talked and laughed, and were very happy. Zhou Shiwei saw that Zhenhua used team building to create opportunities for Yaimei and Jiaying and was very dissatisfied with Zhenhua. Zhou Shiwei casually mentioned Zhenhua's borrowing money. Su Zhengsheng heard their conversation and pressed Zhenhua hard. He admitted that he borrowed 200,000 yuan from Zhou Shiwei to give to Su's mother. Su Zhengsheng was very angry and complained that Zhenhua should not have kept it from her. She was angry and ignored him. No matter how much Zhenhua explained, it was useless. It was late at night. Jiaying took Yaimei to go boating. Yaimei slipped and fell into Jiaying's arms. The two looked into each other's eyes and kissed passionately. Yaimei and Jiaying were like-minded. They talked happily and had endless love words. Since that camping, Yaimei and Jiaying began to fall in love. They wanted to be together every day. Su Zhengsheng booked a plane ticket to go back to her hometown to argue with her mother early in the morning. Zhenhua called her to apologize, and then he knew that she had returned to her hometown. Su's mother admitted that Su Zhengsheng had suffered a great injustice, but she was unwilling to face the facts to save face. Su Zhengsheng was furious when he thought about this. She wanted to sue her stepfather, but her brother was unwilling to stand up and testify because of his young age. Su's mother claimed that she followed her current husband to have food to eat. Su Zheng was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Her mother betrayed her to have a full meal. Su Zhengsheng was so angry at his mother's words that he could not breathe and stumbled out of the house. Jiaying woke up early in the morning and saw Yaimei sleeping in his arms. He felt very happy. The alarm clock suddenly rang. He hurried to take medicine. Yaimei was awakened, but he said nothing. When Su Zhengsheng returned to Beijing, she called Yaimei out and complained. Yaimei advised her kindly. Su Zhengsheng thought that she could forget everything after leaving that home. Unexpectedly, these bad things lingered. She asked Yaimei to find a psychological counselor for her. Su Zhengsheng took the money from the investment fund and let Zhenhua return it to Zhou Shiwei. Zhenhua promised that if there were such a thing again in the future, he would discuss it with Su Zhengsheng as soon as possible. Fu Jiamin and Mimi began to prepare for the wedding. They wanted a Chinese wedding, but Jiamin's parents died, so the link of worshipping the parents became a pity. Zhenhua suggested that his parents sit in the position of Gaotong to accept the worship. They thought it was ridiculous, but they agreed in the end. The wedding was held as scheduled. Zhenhua's parents dressed up carefully. Jiaying went to the kitchen to run around. He whispered to Yaimei from time to time. The two smiled at each other with affection. Yaimei's parents saw it all. The wedding ceremony was successfully completed. Relatives and friends began to take their seats. Fu Jiaying fainted on the ground due to a sudden heart attack due to overwork. Zhenhua, Yaimei and others sent him to the hospital. Zhenhua and Yaimei learned that Jiaying had congenital heart disease. He had a thoracotomy when he was a child and another operation 10 years ago. Yaimei was unaware of this and was stunned. After the medical staff tried their best to rescue him, Jiaying was out of danger, but he was still in a coma and was sent to the ICU ward. Zhenhua hurried home and told his parents about Jiaying's condition. Yaimei stayed outside the ICU ward, keeping an eye on his condition. He was still in a coma, and she was extremely anxious. That night, Shiwen called Yaimei's mother. He wanted Taichu to come to Shanghai for a while but couldn't get to Yaimei. Taichu suddenly burst into tears and kept shouting. Shiwen heard the crying on the phone and asked Zhenhua about the reason. He didn't know how to explain it, so he asked Yaimei to call him back. Fu Jiaying finally woke up. He had never told Yaimei about his condition. He wanted to live like a normal person, but the result was contrary to his wishes. Su Zhengsheng came to the hospital to pick up Yaimei. Shiwen suddenly called Yaimei and asked her to take Taichu to Shanghai. She made the excuse that she was very busy recently. He reminded her to find a healthy boyfriend and not let Taichu get hurt again. Yaimei didn't know how to answer but just cried silently. Fu Jiaying's sudden illness caught Yaimei off guard. She didn't know what to do. She asked her father for his opinion. He respected her choice as long as she was happy. Zhenhua didn't want to see Yaimei sad, but couldn't bear to let her break up with Fu Jiaying. Su Zhengsheng advised Zhenhua not to worry too much, and she believed that Yaimei could face the separation of life and death correctly. Jiaying deeply loved Yaimei and wanted to spend his life with her, but he had been avoiding facing his illness. After collapsing at his younger brother's wedding due to his heart condition, he realized his time might be limited. Not wanting to burden Yaimei or cause her pain, he painfully suggested they break up. Yaimei refused and insisted on facing the illness together with him. Yaimei felt lost and cried constantly. Zhang Xuechong, who had supported her cancer-stricken ex-husband during his final moments, empathized and encouraged Yaimei to be strong. Zhenhua frequently visited Fu Jiaying in the hospital, sharing jokes and funny stories to lift his spirits. When Zhenhua learned of Jiaying's decision to break up, he felt uneasy but respected his wishes. Yaimei took Taichu to visit Jiaying in the hospital, bringing a specially chosen cake. He was touched. Zhenhua then took Taichu home, leaving Yaimei with Jiaying. Despite Jiaying's repeated attempts to end the relationship, Yaimei passionately rebuked and kissed him, bringing him to tears. Shiwen had a video call with his daughter, who sang the song she wrote for her deceased bunny and expressed her newfound understanding of death, quoting Yaimei. Angered, Shiwen called Yaimei, forbidding further contact between Taichu and Fu Jiaying. Fu Jiaying was discharged and began working on music for Yaimei's art exhibit. Shiwen wanted his mother to come from their hometown to help with Taichu, but she refused, expressing a preference for a male grandchild and urging her son to remarry. Fu Jiaying, determined to live life to the fullest despite his limited time, invited Yaimei to try the spiciest hot pot. Despite concerns for his health, they shared the fiery meal together. Meanwhile, Zhenhua saw Bai Xiaohei with a young boy and found it odd. He suspects Xiaohei's son Lele might be his child due to their timeline. During a fishing trip, Xiaohei, after drinking, confessed to Zhenhua her desire for a child without the complications of marriage. Zhenhua drinks a lot, and by the time he wakes up, it's already morning. Zhenhua can't remember what happened the previous night but thinks Lele looks a lot like him, although he is unsure. He sees Lele playing alone and asks about his grade and birthday, which don't match up. Bai Xiaohei arrives and takes Lele home, leaving Zhenhua still suspicious. He calls Bai Eru to inquire about Xiaohei's husband, but Bai Eru tells him to ask her directly. Shiwen calls Yaimei to discuss keeping Taichu in Shanghai, but Yaimei firmly refuses, and Shiwen hangs up on her. She keeps calling him, but he refuses to answer out of spite. Yaimei seeks help from Zhenhua, wanting to go to Shanghai to take Taichu back. Zhenhua advises her to stay calm, believing Shiwen wants to provoke her and regain custody of Fang Taichu. Zhenhua eventually calms Yaimei down and goes to Shanghai to negotiate with Shiwen. Zhenhua confronts Shiwen at his company, but Shiwen ignores him. Zhenhua publicly exposes Fang Shiwen's kidnapping of Fang Taichu in front of the company employees. Fang Shiwen denies it and threatens Zhenhua, who retaliates with harsh words. Enraged, Shiwen attacks Zhenhua, causing his mouth to bleed, and Zhenhua immediately calls the police. Su Zhengsheng arrives in a hurry. Shiwen insists on discussing Taichu's custody with Yaimei in person. Su Zhengsheng questions Shiwen's love for his daughter, likening it to his previous control over Yaimei. Su Zhengsheng advises Zhenhua not to act impulsively and to let Yaimei and Shiwen handle the situation. Shiwen calls Yaimei to Shanghai, intending to discuss Taichu's custody amicably. Yaimei's main concern is Taichu's happiness and well-being. Shiwen, expecting Yaimei to fight for Taichu, is surprised by her calm demeanor. He takes Yaimei home to see Taichu. She advises Taichu to spend more time with Shiwen and ensure he doesn't stay up late or drink. Shiwen is touched and introduces Yaimei to a heart specialist in Beijing, for which Yaimei expresses her gratitude. Back in Beijing, Yaimei visits Fu Jiaying, who is working overtime on music composition. She arranges for him to see a specialist the next day. He knows his illness is incurable but agrees to avoid upsetting Yaimei. She takes him to see the specialist. The specialist conducts a comprehensive examination and finds that Fu Jiaying's left ventricle is severely adhered, making surgery impossible and posing an imminent life-threatening risk. Fu Hamin, upon learning about Fu Jiaying's condition, is heartbroken and cries uncontrollably, while Yaimei is also deeply saddened. Jiaying slowly opened his eyes and saw Yaimei's desperate expression, knowing he was beyond help. He left his beloved musical instruments to his friends one by one and did not leave anything to Yaimei, not wanting her to be sad because of memories of his. Jiaying wanted to grow up with Yaimei to accompany Fang Taichu, but that was all wishful thinking. Yaimei hugged Jiaying and cried. Ever since Zhenhua saw Lele, he had always suspected that Lele was his child. Zhenhua mustered up the courage to find Bai Xiaohei to verify it. Xiaohe clearly stated that Lele was a child she adopted while working in Shenzhen, and Zhenhua was relieved. Su Zhengsheng suddenly received a call from his mother for help. The stepfather molested a 6-year-old girl, and the girl's parents demanded 300,000 yuan in mental damages. Zhenhua accompanied Su Zhengsheng back to her hometown. They learned the whole story from his younger brother Xiaoji and asked Xiaoji for the contact information of the murdered girl's parents. Su Zhengsheng found the girl's parents and persuaded them to call the police. They were worried that the girl would not be able to live a normal life when she grew up. As long as they got 300,000 yuan in compensation, they would take the child away from here immediately. Su Zhengsheng admitted that she was also a victim. She testified to the police about his stepfather's crimes, and Xiaoji also went to the police station to testify. Su Zhengsheng vowed to make his stepfather spend the rest of his life in prison. Her mother kept crying, and Su Zhengsheng reminded her not to interfere with Xiaoji's choice, otherwise she would end up alone. Not long after that, Xiaoji moved out of his home and rented a house. He called his sister to inform him, and she was relieved. Fu Jiaying wanted to climb mountains with his parents like other children since he was a child, but he couldn't do it because of his illness. Yaimei agreed to accompany him in fulfilling this wish. She took Jiamin and Mimi to climb mountains and made a comprehensive emergency plan based on Jiaying's situation. She prepared various climbing equipment for him. He didn't have the confidence to climb to the top of the mountain, but he couldn't bear to make Yaimei sad, so he fully cooperated. Jiaying also brought a radio device to collect birds and flower sounds in the mountains. He is in high spirits and doesn't feel tired at all. As night falls, they finally reach the halfway point. Everyone has been waiting there for a long time. Yaimei, having planned meticulously, arranged for them to set up camp and prepare a sumptuous meal. After dinner, they lie back to gaze at the stars. They dream about exploring other planets. Jiaying declares that he wants to donate his body after he dies. Fu Jiamin disagrees, but he is resolute. Mimi asks Yaimei to persuade Jiaying, but Yaimei, feeling deeply saddened, changes the subject and suggests they all rest in the tents. The next morning, Yaimei and Jiaying continue their ascent, leaving Fu Jiamin and Mimi to pack up the camp. He remains silent, clearly still upset about the previous night's discussion. Jiaying, unsure how to comfort him, gently pats his shoulder before setting off. The path becomes increasingly steep, and Yaimei and Jiaying hold hands, advancing with frequent rests due to her concern for his health. Just as they near the summit, a sudden thunderstorm strikes. Despite having checked the weather forecast, they are caught off guard by the heavy rain. She worries they won't reach the summit before nightfall, but he urges her to abandon the climb. Determined to fulfill his wish to record sounds at the summit, Yaimei refuses to give up, fearing he might never get another chance. He tries to make Yaimei accept the reality of his impending death, suggesting that once they descend, they should part ways. After expressing his thoughts, he leaves the cave in the rain. Yaimei stands in the rain, sobbing uncontrollably. When the rain finally stops, Yaimei resumes her climb and reaches the summit. Jiaying arrives shortly after, leaning on his trekking pole. Overjoyed, they embrace and admire the beautiful sunset together. He peacefully closes his eyes while resting in Yaimei's arms. At Fu Jiaying's studio, everything looks the same, but the place feels different. Yaimei is overwhelmed with memories and tears. She sits down to play a piece on the piano and feels as if Jiaying is hugging her from behind, but turns to find no one there. At Fu Jiaying's memorial service, friends and family gather to say their goodbyes. Yaimei feels his presence, sensing he hasn't gone far. Shiwen brings Fang Taichu to Beijing, bidding her a reluctant farewell. Yaimei channels her longing for Fu Jiaying into her art, creating a commemorative painting. Years pass, and today is Yaimei's birthday. Zhenhua, Su Zhengsheng, and their son return home for the celebration. Yaimei and Zhang Xuechong's art gallery thrives, hosting contemporary art exhibits in collaboration with the Golan Group. Zhuang Guodong, now the Asia-Pacific president, rushes from Hong Kong, clearly to celebrate Yaimei's birthday. When confronted, he admits it, and Yaimei prepares to return home for the family celebration. Riding Fu Jiaying's beloved motorcycle, which she maintains meticulously, Yaimei heads home. Guodong secretly snaps a picture of her driving the motorcycle, while Zhang Xuechong teasingly remarks. Yaimei arrives home and is greeted warmly by her family at the door. Pretending to be startled, she joins them in cutting the birthday cake. Everyone sings the birthday song, accompanied by Fang Taichu on the piano. Yaimei makes a small wish, and each family member presents her with a gift. Zhenhua gives her a limited edition helmet, which she adores. Guodong buys a large house and invites his father to move in with him. He refuses, preferring to live alone, and urges Guodong to start a family soon. Guodong expresses a desire to settle in Beijing, but his father knows he is still hung up on Yaimei. After work, Su Zhengsheng receives a call from her ex-husband, Peng Songtao. She claims to need to work late and asks Zhenhua to pick up little pudding from kindergarten. She meets her ex-husband at an agreed location to discuss selling their old house, which is in both their names, even though he bought it. Su Zhengsheng had contributed 20,000 yuan to it. She agrees to help with the transfer procedures. Zhou Shiwei, dining at the same restaurant, snaps a photo of them talking and laughing together. Guodong invites Yaimei to dinner at a restaurant they used to visit. They have a good time, and Yaimei advises him to find a girlfriend and settle down. He admits he can't get over her and blames her for leaving him with emotional scars. Yaimei encourages him not to get stuck in the past, and Guodong resolves to seriously start dating again, with Yaimei wishing him success. Zhou Shiwei informs Zhenhua about Su Zhengsheng's dinner with Peng Songtao and shows him the photo, making Zhenhua uneasy. Zhenhua, feeling suspicious, indirectly asks Su Zhengsheng about her whereabouts the previous night, but she evades the question. Yaimei takes Fang Taichu to experience simulated flight training. The instructor, she, is impressed by Yaimei and gives them a detailed explanation before taking them up in a plane. During the flight, Taichu and Yaimei are thrilled and cheer joyfully, with Yaimei capturing the memorable moments on camera. After the flight, Taichu eagerly asks she many questions. After work, Zhenhua picks up little pudding and they go to fetch Su Zhengsheng. They see her getting out of Peng Songtao's car. Back home, their son casually mentions seeing his mother returning to the company from a car. Su Zhengsheng admits it was her ex-husband Peng Songtao and explains the house sale. Zhenhua feels jealous and hurt. He grows increasingly angry and vents to Zhou Shiwei, who thinks he is overreacting and doesn't need to view Peng Songtao as an enemy. However, Zhenhua remains unable to let go of his jealousy. After experiencing flight simulation with Taichu, Yaimei became deeply interested in flying and enrolled in a flight training course. The female instructor's classes are fully booked, but she, who usually dislikes female students, volunteers to be her instructor. Yaimei rides her motorcycle for over an hour to reach the flight base for classes. She insists she completes 25 hours of theory lessons before flying. Peng Songtao wants to collaborate with Su Zhengsheng and invites her to an art exhibition. Zhenhua insists on accompanying her to meet Peng Songtao. However, Zhenhua injures his back while lifting weights at home in preparation. Su Zhengsheng, unable to reach him, takes a taxi to the meeting alone. She teaches Yaimei theory lessons seriously, and she quickly grasps the concepts, even sketching a plane during class. She quizzes her, and she answers fluently. After class, her motorcycle breaks down on the way home. She, passing by, stops to help but can't fix the old motorcycle. Concerned for her safety, she calls a rideshare for Yaimei, tracking the route to ensure she gets home safely, and adds her on WeChat to pay for the ride. He also takes a photo of her with an oil smudge on her face as a keepsake. Back home, Su Zhengsheng finds Zhenhua in pain after lying on the floor all day. She applies herbal oil and teases him. Zhenhua, upset about Su Zhengsheng's meeting with Peng Songtao, insists they don't need the money from the house sale. She is furious, arguing they need the money for their mortgage and little pudding's tuition, especially since Zhenhua's company is struggling. He feels defeated and stays silent. Meanwhile, she manages to fix Yaimei's motorcycle after much effort. She offers to treat him to a meal in gratitude, but she receives a notice from the aviation company rejecting his flight application and cancels dinner plans, returning to his dorm. She is warned by the training center, and the aviation company cancels his application, refusing to cover further training or assessment costs. He considers self-funding his training but finds the 600,000 yuan fee prohibitive. She becomes impatient and critical during Yaimei's lessons due to his frustrations. Yaimei, despite feeling unwell and making mistakes, persists and returns for her next lesson. She, anticipating her absence, is surprised when she arrives on time. Due to heavy rain, they couldn't fly, so they sat and talked to each other. She reveals his background in aviation and the incident that led to his suspension. Yaimei encourages him, boosting his confidence. When the rain stops, Yaimei successfully completes her flight session with composure, earning his eyes admiration. Determined not to stay down, Shenhua decides to seek help from Bai Eru to introduce more business opportunities. Su Zhengsheng feels relieved and assigns Han Ying to handle Peng Songtao's business dealings to avoid any further jealousy from Shenhua. Despite Shenhua's promise to stop being petty, she remains skeptical. Shiwen takes Taichu to live in his new house and arranges for Xiao Xiaoyu to accompany her. Taichu notices Xiao Xiaoyu's affection for her father and encourages him to pursue a relationship with her. Her father insists she is just a company employee and asks Taichu not to mention it to her mother. Taichu shows a video of Yaimei's flight training to Shiwen, who feels a pang of jealousy seeing them laughing together. After class, Yaimei invites He Shi for dinner. He Shi decides to self-fund his training at his former flight school, and she cheers him on. When Yaimei's motorcycle needs major repairs, Shiwen arrives to pick her up. On the drive home, he incessantly inquires about He Shi, and Yaimei, sensing his jealousy, teases him by pretending she plans to date He Shi. Yaimei messages He Shi to schedule a lesson, and he casually asks about Feng Shiwen, learning that he is Yaimei's ex-husband, which secretly pleases him. It's Shiwen's birthday, and Taichu calls her mother to join them for dinner, asking her to make longevity noodles for him. Yaimei, with Taichu's help, prepares the noodles. Shiwen is deeply moved to see them busy in the kitchen. After they sing happy birthday, Shiwen is reminded of past birthdays when Yaimei cooked for him, and he is filled with mixed emotions. Despite forgetting the salt again, Shiwen finishes the noodles in one go. After Taichu falls asleep, Shiwen proposes to get back together with Yaimei. She gently refuses, explaining that she can only love one person at a time, and her feelings for him are now in the past. He feels deeply disappointed. Later, Yaimei sends He Shi an inspiring documentary to encourage him to face his past failures, boosting his confidence. Yaimei begins solo flights. With He Shi closely monitoring her progress from the tarmac, she completes her solo flight successfully, and He Shi and his colleagues celebrate with a water splashing ceremony. He Shi shares the news of Yaimei's successful solo flight on social media, expressing his pride in her as the smartest and bravest student he's ever taught. He Shi soon saves enough money for his flight training and prepares to leave for flight school. Yaimei sees him off at the airport, where he gifts her a rose made from aeroplane parts. She wishes him success, and they part with heavy hearts. As Yaimei rides her motorcycle home, she feels a newfound clarity and freedom. She no longer seeks happiness from others but instead looks forward to a future filled with independence and self-discovery. The movie concludes here. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Thank you all, and we'll see you in the next film.